I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Call the meeting to order at 7. And we'll start with a roll call. Michelle.
Here.
Annie. Brett.
Present.
Justin.
Here.
And Tim.
Here. I'll move to adopt.
I need to add 2 things to it, please. I'd like to add Mike Bone to the department report. And after that, Robin Baker. Anybody else?
I'll move to approve the agenda with 2 additions, Mike Bone, Robin Baker.
Second. We have a motion to accept the agenda with the approval of Mike Bone and Robin Baker by Tim, seconded by Justin. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? Agenda passes.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance 1505.
Second.
Nope. And then I move to approve the minutes.
We voted on the other one.
Let's just go ahead and vote on the ordinance first, okay? We've got a motion to approve the appropriation ordinance 1505 by Tim, seconded by, I believe, Justin. Is that right?
Mhm.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michelle?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
And Tim?
Yes.
Bruce? 5-0.
I maintain my motion for the approval of the minutes. I'm trying to speed things along.
Second. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes of March 13th by Tim, seconded by Justin. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Approval passes 4-0. Public comments at this time. Anybody out there have they'd like to bring up?
Yeah, seeing as how y'all want me to do it my speech, I thought I'd get it in here during public comments.
Okay.
Somewhere in the office is a nice folder that I use. Hold on here, that's fine. Is a nice folder that I collected all the information on the IGA building, on demolition and engineering report and all that stuff. And so the other night I was listening to one of your meetings, and the engineer to tell the council how to tear the building down. So I called the engineer about that, and he said that what it is he went in there, obviously it needed to be condemned, pulled down, because there were trusses maybe to be able to use them, there's metal trusses in there for that. But either way, he said the people that tell the council how they're gonna tear it down are the demolition people. So, there was a nice person here in Estridge who told me about Burlingame, where they had, I think he was a fire chief down there, and that's the list of names that I sent to, Justin a while back. I called him, he's very helpful, he said that he would be glad to help the council anytime if you decide to move on that building. And then he gave me a list of people that would have the ability to take care of a building like that, as far as demoing it and telling you how they were going to do it. So the engineer was not the one that was going to tell us how to do it. It was the people that were going to do the work, the demolition of it. And of course, about that time, the end of my tenure came, and so we didn't get any bids on it at that time. But you got $109,000 that was designated for that building. That's what I talked to the people in the, on the state. It has to do with the Prairie Wind Department. The reason that they forgave us on the loans and stuff is because I told them that we wanted to do some work on Main Street. And they liked that idea. That's why we had to pay back the loan to the Department of Aging. But they said that they would take only a quarter of what we owed them, and we could have the rest to have to work on Main Street. And so that was, and that letter should be in that folder. The folder should be somewhere in the office. I didn't take it with me.
And this was an agreement that you made in writing with these folks
I
before
did.
you, it's in,
I actually went through it, and so we did I went together department, and then I also had the privilege of working in there, but I had to do a video talk to them. And they asked me questions and stuff, and they were pretty quick. I think they were also at their own homes. I think everybody did meetings at that time with the computers, but yes, it wasn't, I don't know that you might be able to use that money for something else.
well, according to Todd, our attorney, we can use it for whatever we want.
I'm
If there
sure
is,
he would say that. He wasn't very much involved with the dealings of it.
well, I would think that if we had a written agreement with someone on the sale of our property, that he would be involved in some way as our attorney. So what I'm gonna say, Dolly, is we'll look for the folder, we'll see what we can find, and
Well,
we'll
what
report
else would
back.
you want to use it for?
Pardon
I
me?
mean, it was there to use for that purpose, to reclaim that area, that land or something like that. And it was just a letter that I sent to them, and whether or not they wanted to make it, hold me legal for it,
Mhm.
I think that if the city didn't want to for that, they wouldn't say anything to the city. I would think that they would leave it to the city to do, but that was the purpose. That's why I worked so hard to get that, as much money out of that building as I did.
And appreciate all that.
Yeah, I
I
know.
also think that information should have been shared with the council as the proceedings were taking
I did.
place, so that they'd be aware of it.
Yeah, it would be on the cameras.
Okay, like I said,
I
we'll
shared everything.
we'll search
the
for the file. We'll search for the file and see
Okay.
what information we can gather out of that.
And whenever
we'll
I
take
did
it from
anything
there.
like that, Terry, I did share it with the council, because the only way to stay out of trouble is through the light and make sure that everybody knows what I was doing. And sometimes it was a short 5 minutes of, this is what I'm doing right now, and
Okay,
so.
well, and
COVID was a hard time.
just for everybody's information, I'm getting a different picture of the condition of the IGA building from the Brownsfield assessment. So we'll have to take that into consideration as well. So we don't necessarily have to demolish the IGA building.
Really. Well, it's got a hole in the roof. There's water in it. I can't believe that the engineers that looked at it before that over the years have said we've had black mold in there. I can't believe it's gone away, but that'd be great if it did. But the floor is in the basement. There's a big hole in the roof. And now the beams are metal, so you might be able to salvage them and make a building out of it. I'm not against that.
Okay.
We're
Well-
gonna do something with that space.
Well, we're working on doing something with that
Yeah.
space, that's for sure.
I was hoping that you could use that 109 and maybe get a matching grant or something like that, and that would really put it up there.
We're gonna try to do the best we can with the money that we got out of the housing authority. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I forgot to say, I'm Dolly Mercer from Eskridge, Kansas, so, sorry.
Okay, do we have anybody else that has a comment? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to, my name is Deborah Van Cleve. I'd like to address the board about the possibility of an increase in camping fees.
Can you excuse us just for a
Yeah.
moment? This lady will be talking to us later, but we just want to get her connected right now.
Jana?
Hello, Jana? Jana Williams, hello.
Hi.
Okay, we're gonna let you listen in and we'll get to you as soon as we can, all right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms.
I'd
Van
like to
Cleef.
address the council about the possibility of raising camping fees out here at the lake. My husband and I were trying to figure out, we think last year we camped out here approximately 25, if not more nights out here at Lake Levincy, and the year before it was a minimum of 20. We enjoy camping out here, and we enjoy the lower cost, knowing that we're getting, I don't know how to say this, I don't want it to sound mean, but less than we do at other places. When we go to other places where we pay $2 to $3 more, At those places, we get shower houses with hot water in them, 4 shower stalls in the men's, 4 shower stalls in the women's, 4 men's restrooms, 4 women's restrooms in those shower places. A beach, more beach to it, and I know that at some point we're supposed to be working on that out here. Working electricity at all of the sites. We're out here, it's not always that way. Let's see, I made a list of some of the other things. Water at each site's another big thing. And then you usually pay $2 to $3 on top of that to get sewer at the sites, which is no problem. We have a nice sewer dump out there at the lake, but we don't have water at the site. So we either fill up here, fill up there. Last year, there was a time twice that my husband and I spent 6 days in a row out there, which means either we have to load up the camper, unhook it, and go back and refill it with water, or we drag 200 foot of hose from our house out there with us in order to fill up. So at the lower cost, we know that we've got to do one of those two things. When we pay, like I said, just a few more dollars a night, we have water 3 foot from our camper at all times with 2 spigots at all times. And so that's my concern, is that we're increasing the cost to what it would cost us to go somewhere else, but yet we're not getting more amenities for that. And I realize we do want to improve the lake and we do want to improve the camping, but at this point, I don't know that the sites are ready for that to improve it. But I just know we spend a lot of time out there, and we think it's a fair price what we pay right now for the amenities that we get with our camping.
And do you have any proposals or ideas on how we can come up with the money to provide these extra things for the campsite without raising rates? I mean, what are we gonna
Well,
do? I mean, I'm all for,
I
I'm all
don't at this
ears.
time, except that I know that there's already a water line that runs right through that camping area in order to get the water spigot where it's at.
Right.
And I do know, that's my understanding, we've been working on the electricity.
Mhm.
I've been out there and seen, there's a lot of new gravel spread. It looks really good. But I think that if you increase it too much before you make the improvements, you're gonna be chasing a lot of people away too.
Sure.
I mean, it is a lot of
No,
us locals that
I
camp
understand.
there.
I
So-
fully understand that. But I'm also looking for ideas on ways that we can raise money to get those improvements in there. And I was just asking if you had any idea on anything that we could do.
I haven't at this time, no.
What are you doing with the money that you make already?
Most of it's used, put back into the operations of the bait shop and such. Brett,
Seriously?
yeah,
$5,000?
well, Brett had some calculations that he had last time, and I mean,
Will you be able to speak on that then?
me or Brett?
Brett?
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At the end of last year, we had profited about $3,000, and we increased the bait shop contract by $2,500 this year. So that means if it stays the exact same, that would be a total profit of like $500. So we're pretty much breaking even.
Are you guys even thinking about maybe putting an RV park over there by the lodge?
No, I think that we should probably get water and
Yeah.
things set up at the sites that we already have before we start taking on something else that we can't maintain.
Well, I know you guys talk about 5-year planning and stuff. That might be something good to set up.
Yeah. And I will mention that those numbers came from last season, and that was the best season that the bait shop has ever had, taking in fees and just sales and everything. So
So I guess, do you have a report that I could look at to see where your expenditures are besides just the bait shop, owner? I mean, do you pull your fees out of there? Do you take fees for other things for the lake out of the lake fund, or? You do?
well, you have to consider the bills that are out there
Yeah, I know about
all
that.
year long. And then the contract for the bait shop.
Oh, really? 28 now.
There's that figured into that as well. I mean, we just don't have any money for upkeep or upgrades at this point.
Okay.
But I can get
Yeah, thank you.
Any other public comments?
So I'm sorry, I'm late. I apologize. I'm getting in here. Are you discussing fees for the campsites? Is that where we're at?
No, we're,
No.
no, we're,
Question, because I don't camp out there.
right, we're, public- we're in a part of the agenda where we're asking for public comments just
Okay.
on, in general.
In general, okay.
Right.
So
I think the
is
fees
it-
are down
is
here
it more
later on.
expensive to camp out there in the high season? I mean, Memorial Weekend, Labor Day weekend, July 4th weekend.
There's no price
No, there's
differential.
no,
So
Yeah.
is that a possibility? I certainly believe
Yeah.
that the high season, when we know, so, you know, it's supply and demand situation,
Yeah.
obviously. Of the X number of days and X number of sites that we have out there, how much of them are rented out if we broke it out during those seasons compared to every other time?
I think it's near full for
Because
pretty
I-
much the
I
big
have to
three.
Assume that people in like her are coming out July 4th weekend. And they know they're gonna come out July 4th weekend.
We don't know July 4th.
Unlike her, that's what I'm saying. Unlike her, right? And they wanna come out here because they know it's a great experience, and they clearly found that if the money is right for them to come out here. I would personally look at bumping those rates a little bit. That'd be a pretty easy way to generate more income. And I think they'd continue to pay, they'd pay more even if we were able to upgrade the sites like she's talking about anyway.
And like I said, put a jar out, donations for, a lot of people don't realize little jars sometimes, they can collect a lot of money.
I do know at another place we go to, like Labor Day weekend, down at Lake Melbourne, there's not an additional cost, but they require that we book for 4 nights. So, I mean, you're blocked into that, whether you're gonna stay all 4 or not, they're gonna make you pay for 4 nights.
Now, I will say some differences between our area here locally, other places like Melbourne or Pomona, for example, and those properties are governed pretty much by the Corps of Engineers. And they get a lot of money that we don't get,
Right, they have the state park too, Eisenhower.
you know, and they have the funds for showers, and you said four showers for men and
Yeah,
4
they-
showers for women, and
3 spots
fantastic
that have that.
restroom facilities that even picnic areas that they have money. And where they get it, I couldn't tell you, but they get it in a lot more places than we do.
Taxes.
Deep
I mean,
pockets.
Well, but they charge fees to it for that as well on top of that. So, but I'm just saying they've got the deep pockets to put this stuff out there, whereas we've got to figure out how we're going to get the money to put this out there.
Make any money on the fishing tournament, or do you not have them anymore?
We put a stop to the fishing tournaments last year because of the problems that they were causing to the fish that they were releasing.
Catch and release?
Yes. So you had a suggestion last year. We didn't act on it, but I think it's not a bad idea that if we have a fishing tournament out there, that they don't release anything, all fish is kept. And we have a fish fry afterwards.
There you go.
So that'd be one way to continue with tournaments without endangering the stock of the lake.
Yeah, we did that before. Good way, good idea.
So that's, and here again, I asked for the public's help when we're trying to determine funds for accommodating the things that the campers need out there, the things that the folks that use the lake, whether they're lake resident or non-resident, or city people that can help us decide how we can come up with the funds to get these things out there. I'm in total agreement. We need a lot more out there than what we've got. My problem is looking at the money we've got and trying to figure out where we're going to pull it from. So we're always open to suggestions on, okay? Anybody else, public comments? Okay, we'll get to the subject on the camping, fishing, and boating fees later on in the agenda, okay? All right, so right now it's time for department reports, and we'll start with the clerk.
just a couple things. In your packet, there was a copy of a notice from ENC Insurance. Diane had shared it with me. It's available to the city at no cost. Nurse on call, just if someone were to be injured and it's a workman's comp claim, there's available resources. Like I said, no cost to the city, but you do have to sign up. Didn't know if the city wants to entertain that. We could always do it, after you've had an opportunity to read that information.
Sounds like we can afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah, might
Yeah.
as well.
So if you want, give me the directive, I'll go ahead and
I'm all for it.
get that
We're not
information.
signing anything away. I mean,
No.
as far as, okay,
I
rights or
mean,
anything.
basically, we're already paying for it with our workman's comp coverage that we have through EMC. Eric Stevie with Renpro asked me to inform the council that he has pulled the pipe that was located at Michelle and Scott Hex at 469 East Flint Hills Drive. And Tom Ballou asked if the city, and I didn't know any history with Tom, if the council had asked him to remove his standing boat lift. It's missing. And so he was just starting at the council first to see if we had directed anybody to remove that not floating, but standalone boat lift. So no?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No, she asked me earlier.
Yeah.
There is a dock that ran loose, if anybody knows who that belongs to. It's on the east end of the lake right now.
Is it a boat lift or a dock?
No, it's a dock.
floating
It's
dock,
a
okay.
floating dock.
The porta
Did you see it
potts-
today?
Well, I took a picture of what I think you guys might be talking about.
We'll get to you here in a minute, but I'm just curious
Okay.
since we're on that, but
Porta pots have been ordered for the camping season. They'll be delivered around the 1st of April. So, and then just to follow up on an email that Stefan and he just didn't get an answer. Bill Miller had inquired about asking permission to have his pit bulls in town when he visits his father, Bill, but he never got a response as far as
we
the
need-
council.
I think the council voted to take no action on changing the ordinance the way it was. So the answer for him would be no. Is that correct? And did we took no
He
action?
was asking about a permit, which is nothing that we had.
Oh, this isn't the one that wanted permission to bring his pit bulls into town.
Right, but he was
Yes.
wanting to purchase a permit to do so or something.
I was confused on, I thought that Todd told us that there is no such thing as a pit bull, so we can't outlaw pit bulls anyway.
He just basically said it was a toothless ordinance because if somebody actually fought you on it, you could go DNA and just, have some big argument about it.
I thought he said he prosecuted many cases with pit bulls and they never end good.
They never
Yeah,
came
because,
from their end.
because
Yeah.
there's no true
Prosecution.
breed of a pit bull.
Right.
You can't DNA prove that actually is a pit bull.
Yeah.
This is an ordinance that we are going to be coming up against in the near future.
But anyway, just back to the individual's request, when he visits his father's for like a 3-day stay or whatever.
I was okay with.
I was
What if he had
okay with
proof of insurance?
Pardon?
What if he had proof of insurance on his dogs?
I mean,
I mean, our current
insurance
ordinance
doesn't
says
undo
that-
an incident. I mean,
That's
No.
right.
but, does it give you more peace of mind? I guess, but.
I believe our current ordinance says that pit bull dogs aren't allowed in the city. Is that correct, Aspen?
Yes,
And do we not have another
As far as
ordinance that
homeowners.
states something about vicious dogs?
yes.
Yeah.
Vicious animals, I believe.
And it specifies the steps to be taken if it is believed that you have a vicious animal. It's not that you can't have it in town. You just have to take extra precautions as far as muzzling the animal and
That's after it's proven vicious.
yes,
So
yes,
regardless of the breed, it's innocent until
exactly.
it's
So
labeled vicious.
I guess, do I
Yes.
reply to Bill, a yes or a no?
Could I hear the question, Lisa?
He visits his father
Uh-huh.
about once a year and he's here for like 2 or 3 days. He has pit bulls that are always on a chain or not chain, but he walks them with a leash. He takes them out to the bathroom on a leash.
Right.
He keeps them in a pen. They're never,
So the
Unattended.
pit bulls don't normally reside in town.
Correct.
The dad wants to bring them while he's here on a visit.
yes.
I would say we let him bring his dogs because we are not currently prosecuting any of the other people that have pit bulls in town.
That's
But he was already here. He was here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He just sent an email
Once you
tonight.
create a permit like you asked for them and make them buy a permit.
Well,
He's
the
suggesting
next
that he does that.
council meeting that I planned to attend, I was going to bring up that very ordinance. Because it's, do I enforce it? Do I not enforce it? Because I know there are pit bulls in town. So can we just do away with it and not even, is it an insurance thing? Is that why we have it in there, or?
We're not
We
liable
don't-
either way.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
okay with him
so-
bringing them.
Yes, me
You're probably
too.
more liable having it on the.
I'm just kind of firmly on the fence about it. I don't know. I hate to be wishy-washy, but I can see both sides of the issue. But I don't know. We've rewritten the animal ordinance how many times in the last 10, 12 years? I mean, at least 5.
This issue was brought up at the February 27th council meeting, and no action was taken on it because the current ordinance prohibits pit bulls in town.
Yep.
And I think the issue at that time was that if they were to allow it, then the council had the opportunity to change the ordinance that night. They voted not to. I'm just going by my notes here, what happened on February 27th. If you guys want to make an adjustment for that tonight, then go for it. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to temporarily allow someone from out of town on a visitation to do something, then vote on it. Bring it up. Talk about it. Vote on it. Let's do it.
Well-
If you don't take any action, then the ordinance says no.
Sounds like he takes good care of his dogs and makes sure they're very well supervised. They're always on a leash or in a kennel. I have no problem with him visiting with his dogs for 2 or 3 days.
You wanna make that
Is
a
that a
motion?
motion?
I make the motion
There you
to
go.
allow him to bring his dogs with him when he comes to visit his dad.
I will second it.
Would you repeat how that motion was made, please?
Michelle made a motion to allow a visiting pit bull to be in city limits
Yeah.
While he's
basically we're
on a leash and in a kennel in 10
for
seconds.
that one kid, so yes.
I'm not good at coming back real quick.
Yeah, all right.
With every.
So we have a motion to allow anyone
Tell us.
to bring a pit bull into town for 3 to 4 days, as long as they are kept under control of the owner. By Michelle, seconded by Tim. Is there any further discussion on that?
I have one concern.
Okay,
I would just like to get Todd's opinion, and he's not here, but we're literally voting to go against our ordinance. Is that wise for us? Is my question. And 2, what does that open for us in the future?
what it opens right now, this is why it was said that anyone that brings a pit bull into town for a few days.
No, I said in this case.
Okay, but you
This
can't,
gentleman.
let me rephrase that. Well, we're in discussion mode, so let me just say this. You can't specifically allow one person and then not allow somebody in the future to do it. That's why I said anyone coming in. So if you want to make adjustments, I don't have a problem with it, but you're going to have to change the ordinance in order to do that. Am I wrong on that? You guys think
I
I'm
don't
wrong?
think you're wrong on that.
I think you gotta treat everybody the same.
You got to treat them all the same. You can't not allow the Ridgeways to bring their pit dog in when we just turned around and let somebody else do it. So, like I said, if you guys decide to change the ordinance, we'll get her changed and we'll allow that. But we're not going to allow it for one person and not somebody
Okay.
else's.
You keep your motion with letting
Yes.
everybody?
Allowing everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
I maintain my second on it.
Any further discussion, such as do we require that they notify the city when that's happening so that we know they're in town? Wouldn't that make sense to do that?
Yes.
I will say before we vote again, I'm not against what you're saying here. I just want Todd's answer.
You guys discussed this the last time and Todd was kind of neutral on it. He didn't care if you changed it or not or even got rid of it. It just kept the vicious dog ordinance. It was like 3 meetings.
I understand what you're saying, Dolly, but everyone needs to understand what my position is, the way I'm
I
seeing
like
it.
your position. I think it's great. I do.
So if they want to allow it on a temporary basis, I think we need to go a step further and say, we need to be notified in advance that this is happening. We don't want an after the fact problem.
Just to clarify, are we directing Todd or somebody to rewrite this into the animal ordinance and have it maybe presented at the next meeting?
Well, that would be a good idea.
Okay, that's what I would think we would do anyway.
So,
Sounds good.
all right.
If that's what we're gonna do, then I think that we're wasting our time with this motion and second. I think that we just merely direct him to abolish the no pit bull rule. I mean, isn't that what we're getting down to?
Yeah, and then we vote on it whenever the language is in front of us. But, I mean, I have no problem with sending him a quick deal back and saying, yeah, the council's talking about getting rid of that for this case for visitors.
I know he's told us on time and time again that the no pit bull rule isn't worth the paper it's written on.
Mhm.
Well, that being the case, and I know we've got people in town that's got pit bulls, so how's that favoring them or not favoring them if we just allow people from out of town with permission to do it and people in town no permission to even have them?
Sure. So let's abolish the rule and be done with it.
I think it needs to be rewritten instead of abolishing pit bulls, just having a problem with vicious animals. Because any dog can be vicious. Anybody ever been attacked by a Pomeranian?
I'm sure you have a
Seriously.
vicious animal.
Little ankle nippers,
Yeah.
you know?
You already have a vicious animal ordinance, I think.
That's what I'm saying. So we don't really need the pit bull one, is what I'm trying to say, yeah.
She can withdraw her motion and then you guys put another motion out there.
That's what should happen. I agree.
And that's what you said, we already have one for vicious animals, so.
So you're gonna withdraw
So
your
you need
motion?
to withdraw the motion.
Are you going to withdraw your motion?
I have a question for Aspen.
Okay, go ahead.
Aspen,
She's trying to keep me prisoner back there. Yes.
the last time we talked about this pit bull ordinance, I had brought up about a place in town that is moving multiple pit bulls through the property, like in a cage, in a new cage that they have that's double bayed, in a
We
cellar
have one of them
downstairs.
go back right now.
Okay,
And including that one, I am guessing there's 8 on property,
okay.
at least.
And I had spoke with
Possibly.
Stephanie about this after that meeting, and the guy had come in to change utilities into his
Okay.
name, and she had asked him if he had dogs, and he said no.
Okay. Of course.
But what concerns me the most about it is I've been watching it, and it's multiple different colors of them changing
is.
over, and then suddenly
Um,
there's no dogs there, and then you get a fresh.
I spoke with the neighbor today. She was the one that called in about the loose one. And I picked it up about 5 o'clock today. No, it was probably a little earlier than that. But we could see 5 dogs outside and possibly more inside. I mean, we could hear 2, maybe 3 or more inside. And she said that she had witnessed them being moved in and out of pens, and you know what I mean? Basically the corroborating your story with what you had also been seeing. So, and I too have been taking pictures and keeping an eye on the situation. I was informed that they had had a visit from the sheriff some time ago, but I was not involved in that call. I actually heard about it afterwards. And I guess they never found anything, you know what I mean? It never went any further than one home visit. So My guess is perhaps there were no dogs there that day, or because it's the same with you. We'll go a couple days. I mean, I live right across the street.
Right.
So we'll go a couple days and we won't hear dogs, and then we'll hear multiple dogs. And so I've been keeping.
5 years ago, they were growing pit bulls down here, and people from Jackson County were raising pit bulls down here and taking them back up there for dog fighting.
So if you look at the ordinance about vicious dogs, it doesn't talk about any dogs other than pit bulls. So it goes through the entire ordinance of this is what constitutes a vicious dog. If you have a vicious dog, this is what you must do in order to keep it. And then it ends with, as of September 5th, 1998, pit bulls are prohibited within the city limits. So a lot of it talks about the breeding of pit bulls and how you have to keep records of them. And so if we allow pit bulls, if we just do away with the, the ban, if you will, the prohibition on pit bulls, it would open up people to breeding, you know what I mean? And it's covered the way to do it, to go about doing it legally within the city. So I would imagine when they added that bylaw, that probably had something to do with it. Is there, back then may have been people breeding, or you know what I mean? And I don't know, but I do know that that's probably something we should consider if we talk about doing away with the prohibition of pit bulls.
And Brett, where were you going with this question?
Basically just highlighting again that we really do have a serious situation. So why are you going to abolish something that could help you in this situation currently, basically?
It doesn't sound like that is a vicious animal situation. It's just someone breeding animals, and I don't know who would cover this. Certainly there's laws against having a certain amount of animals, the game wardens or someone would fall under their jurisdiction. I'm guessing. I don't know. They don't sound vicious to me. Have those animals attacked anyone? I haven't read the ordinance, and I don't know what.
No, those
makes an
animals in
animal vicious.
particular are not vicious. There is a lot more to it than just the one pit bull that got out today. Other ordinances that they are violating, not just the breed of dog.
Taking this ordinance out is not going to affect that situation. Thanks, sir.
Probably it wouldn't help us. Let's put it that way. If we got rid of this ordinance, and I mean, I have plenty of.
Again, though, if you're allowing for these other people to have these pit bulls in town, your ordinance has zero teeth with this person that has 8 animals on their property, as far as it goes with them being pit bulls.
Yes,
So,
I feel like personally this ordinance has no teeth regardless, because these are not the first pit bulls in town, since 1998. So I imagine that there's probably been dozens of pit bulls that have come through here since then that just flew under the radar. So, but that's something that we're gonna have to address and clarify and figure out, because like I said, we're coming up against it now. And if we want to be able to say to these people, your dogs are illegal in town, we're gonna have to say to everybody else who has a pit bull, so.
I'm gonna let Mr. Miller know that this ordinance will be revisited, and maybe when he comes in the future, he'll have a clearer answer for him.
That's good. And I think we do need to revisit the ordinance.
Yep.
And I think we should not do that tonight.
So Michelle,
I withdraw my motion.
Tim,
Yes, I withdraw my second withdrawn motion.
I'm done.
All right.
Just a can of worms.
I know.
All right. Next up is Mike Bone. Don't take as long as they do.
I will try not to. I've got 2 or 3 things here that have come up. One is on the agenda later. It is a proposal from Conley Site Work and Utilities. This is the only bid or estimate, proposal, whatever you want to call it, we got back from what Kramer's had designed to repair our debacle at the old water tower. We still currently have a leak up there. And the way things have been kind of patched up and put together as upgrades have gone on has put us in quite a conundrum on how to bypass and be able to fix things and even do things in the future up there. I had emailed you guys kind of their preliminary design a few weeks ago. He contacted 4 contractors they work with. All 4 of them wanted the drawings, wanted to bid it, wanted to give us something. We got back one from Conley. I met with Steve Conley on site. We talked about things. Ben just into last week reached out to the other 3 and still has heard nothing back from them. So obviously it wasn't something they were really interested in doing. I asked Ben to not provide a cost estimate to the contractors on this deal because I mean it's no grant funding, nothing weird. Engineers tend to run things high and then people bid things high to match the engineering. This came in, he thought it looked really good, fairly reasonable. It's actually, I mean, it's a lot of money, but it is fairly reasonable for what he's going to do. I think we have a game plan to minimize the downtime. It will take Eskridge completely offline for hopefully a matter of 2 to 3 hours, possibly a little bit more. Best case, probably 2 to 3 hours to get this initial cross piece put in, and then he can demo everything going back to the old tower. Once he gets that first piece in, we'll be able to bypass on one or both high service lines coming in to town from the lake, from the newer tower, and then the old tower can stay offline for as long as it takes them to get everything cleaned up there. Get
So
rid
just
of
to
the
get
old
us,
pressure pit.
just if I'm understanding, just to get us bypass, which could take as long as 3 hours.
Or longer, depending on
And then once
how
that
it actually
bypass is
goes.
set up, we're good to go.
And we're back online. We'll hold for a little while. I coordinated the last time we attempted this with Rural Water 1 and Rural Water 8. They had both shut down. 1 ran their tower up, so he had about a day's worth of water. 8 moved pump stations around to pull water from Topeka. So they can be off for, Rural 1 at least 24 hours. 8 could go for a while, which considerably reduces our consumption in town. So we will hold part of town for a while at the minimum 20 psi, and then there'll be extensive flushing afterwards. Once we get everything back up and get chlorine residual everywhere, and there will be a lot of color and a lot of issues from draining all those lines down. But it's got to happen.
They can't backfeed us, can they? Like Rural Water 1 pump up and then feed.
No, we're Rural Water 1's, Waubonsee 1's only source of water, and Topeka, or Rural 8 does have Topeka water that comes back this direction, but we can't feed back from them at this point. We've talked about that on emergency plans in the past. If they ever do anything, we ever do a big upgrade to give them more water because they want more water from us, we'll work a deal, figure out a way to, we don't have to keep the crazy pressure we have in town. We have to keep a minimum of 20 psi is all we have to keep. So that would be something to do. Yes,
Mike, will this shut the lake down also?
this will not affect the lake at all. Everything from the new tower west will be just fine, business as usual. Because when they built the new tower, all of this isolation stuff was put into place. From the new tower, I say the blue ground storage tank. From that coming into town, everything was just kind of always pieced into the older stuff here at town. So doing this cross piece gives us the ability to do what we can do at the new tower with the old tower. So in the future, if something new goes in there, that tower gets demolished, we build another big storage tank, something that can all be isolated and that can be offline indefinitely until we build something new. So this is cleaning up years and years of just kind of adding on to things too. So
Well,
it's
and
not.
in your appropriation list, you've already approved the parts.
Yeah. And
To
I got the
coordinate,
parts
so-
because the parts was kind of the emergency deal. If that sucker turns loose, we needed all this stuff to put it on. So, yeah, you paid for the parts. This is literally just for putting everything in. The only things in here, of course, it's a general proposal. There's some exclusions if for some reason he encounters, a bunch of rocks, something like that. I don't foresee that being an issue at all up there. Anything out of the scope of what the engineers designed, Conley could be entitled to some more compensation. I don't see that being an issue up there at all for what we talked about personally. Ben looked over this for a couple days, talked with Steve back and forth on the actual process of point A to point B on everything to be done up here to minimize their downtime and kind of maximize their efficiencies. So Kramers think It's good. I was really impressed with Steve. He's got a good crew. He actually operates a couple of rural water districts. He's kind of over by Lawrence area. So not only he's a construction guy, but he actually operates.
You have a projected start date?
I don't, but it would be ASAP once we got the go ahead here. And Steve kind of knows we're getting by. It hasn't gotten any worse, but we looked at it that day and it could turn loose. So I think we'd be on his priority list to get here and get started. So I would ask for action and an approval on our only proposal on this tonight.
What was the dollars? I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, I thought it was in the packet. Sorry.
Well, I emailed it to him, 16,800. I believe.
16,800.
Then this allows us to just kind of cut that out of the loop for now and deal with it later. Is that what I'm
No, this
understanding?
will
This does
fix
fix it.
This will fix everything.
Okay.
The initial cross piece for our downtime that goes in, which will add some valves, it'll bring both high service lines together. Once that goes in, then we'll be able to bypass your town, and that will fix our leak right now. Then we will be able to isolate the old tower, bypass through this new cross piece, which I say bypass, but basically we're just going to bypass the old tower. And then they're going to remove the old pressure telemetry pit, all of this other stuff from way back in the day, even when we were in on wells,
Okay.
was the telemetry on when things were to pump. And
So that's cooked into this number too.
Yep.
Okay.
That's doing everything. I mean, all the valves, everything right up to the piping going into the old tower. That's replacing all that stuff and making everything.
So we're just basically going to have a loss of water for a few hours, just one time. If something in the future happens, then the bypass is already lined up and we won't have the delay of service to the.
Yeah, there's still a very critical 8-inch line that's coming down into town. If for some reason something were to happen there, I mean, yeah, we're all going to be out.
Different,
But yeah, but this cleans up everything in that tower site up there.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the utility work by Conley. At the 16.8 rate by Brett, seconded by Justin. Any other further conversation on that discussion? Any those in favor? And those opposed? None. So as far as I'm concerned, that covers you on this one right here as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You can pull that off and then we'll have you sign the initial one, Terry.
Okay, all right. All right, at this time, new city business, Janet Williams been patient. Oh, one more thing. All right, sorry.
Just a couple small things. Chris Colligan had contacted me wondering about going forward with network and server upgrades this year. I wasn't super familiar with that. On the new plans, I do have these. Then I went back and looked. He had a server replacement and the network replacement stuff. I just literally figured it off because I wasn't too sure what he was talking about. This is, oh, it says 2020.
It's just his invoice number. That
Oh,
threw me
gotcha,
for a loop
gotcha,
too
gotcha,
last
gotcha. Yeah,
one.
I was like, wait a minute, I knew the dates were on there. He had talked about this. I know the server, he thought he did an analysis on the drives and stuff and whatever percentage they were at. He thought we could probably kick that down the road maybe a year or two. I don't remember exactly what he said, Justin. I thought maybe when you looked over in the type of agreement we went with, the co-managed plan or whatever it was, where we would pay for the actual replacement cost of the equipment rather than pay for him replacing everything at his cost.
Yeah.
But this was what he had recommended for this year, I guess. So you don't have to make a decision tonight, but I just wanted to bring it back up to you. I can let him know you guys are looking at it, maybe think about it. And,
Put it on the agenda for the 10th of April.
yeah, I would. And I'll just let him know you guys are revisiting that. Natural gas prepay agreement, years and years ago, KMGA things, interest rates, whatever, are more in favorable of that now. I don't remember where we left that at. That was Royal Bank of Canada was gonna finance bonds to do this natural gas prepay to try to lower, they were hoping for what was the minimum, 25 to 50 cents per MMBTU savings on our normal gas rate. Dixie reached out about that. They're looking at doing that again. I obviously don't remember the details of it. Would you like her to come to a meeting and present that again, or just try to get some information and get out to you guys to look at it again?
I think it'd be a good idea if she were here.
If she were here,
Yeah.
I can ask her to do that and see if that's something that we're interested in doing again.
Be a good time around now. I think we hit 2 and bounced off of it, but yeah, spot price, but it
Right.
hasn't been that low for a little while.
No, quite some time, really. And I mean, the forecasts look pretty good right now, but that can all change. I mean, the general price forecasts look good. You know, you have all your different regions and supply and demand and temperature. It, just like our mid-continent region a couple years ago was $700 in the BTU, and somebody else said it was still 3. So, okay, that's about all I got. I'm gonna meet Julie at the bait shop tomorrow. About getting the computer going, make sure all that stuff works, and hopefully all that is simple and operational. If not, I'll get a hold of Chris and get him on the phone and go from there.
What are the cameras? Is there any help from those things operating?
Up there.
They didn't work the entire last year.
All of them didn't?
I mean, they worked live, but it never recorded anything. So if somebody stole something or backed into the gate, you'd never be able to
Track.
that.
I will do that. That's a DVR.
Anybody have anything else for Mike? All right.
I had a quick question.
Yep.
Would you be able to talk to Jamie Masters and see when his estimated time he could do that concrete?
Yeah, we are, and I talked to Bob too about that because we have to coordinate Bob getting the sides dug out so he can get that structure built prior to getting the pipe put in and all this. It's kind of a chain of events, but yeah, I think he's trying to get us moved up. I just don't have an actual date yet, but yes, I have spoke with him about it, but I'll reach back out to him on that.
Okay.
We've got Bob.
I was just looking for before the symphony, after the symphony.
Yeah, that's what I told him. We're hoping for that. And Bob does. He have all the pipe got delivered and stuff like that. He's got it sitting there ready to go. So we're just, concrete comes first, then the pipe, then the sidewalk. So there's a lot of people to coordinate there.
Okay, we're gonna bypass Robin for the moment, and we're gonna go to the telephone where Janet Williams has been holding very patiently. She is also on roughly a 7-second delay. So she's hearing this 7 seconds after we speak, so give her an opportunity to speak.
Good morning.
And Janet's gonna be talking to us a little bit more about the brownfield and HEAL grants. So Jana, feel free to talk. Turn that volume up.
Good evening. I'll try to learn how to deal with this 7-second delay. Anna Williams with the Flint Hills Regional Council, and I'd like to thank you for your time this evening. I had a few things I wanted to update you on with our brownfield assessment grant. The first thing is the phase 1s and their status. I actually have with me on the call tonight Seth Netling from KDHE, who you remember from the public outreach meetings, and also our consultant Rick Bender from Stantec, who was in town with his team not too long ago and met some of your property owners. And I'm going to hand it over to Rick Bender first to go over and give you an update on the phase 1s that they are doing.
Welcome, Rick.
Hi. Yeah, so we were on site in mid-January and looked at 9 of 12 properties on Main Street, and then there's 3 other properties that Seth will talk about. And so we started off doing what's called a phase 1 site assessment, and essentially that's a paper study of known spill sites in the area, and then also going through each property and seeing if there's anything there that looks like it could cause a spill to soil and groundwater, essentially. So the first thing was just to see what was on the state database for the area. And I think you all probably know, right on 2nd and Main there, South Main, there was a old Clark gas station there. That one has had the tanks removed, and there was some contamination, but it was all cleaned up. So there's essentially clean closure there. So that property is in good shape, and it's not affecting the other properties in the area. Then there was a site, there was the county highway apartment property, and it just basically says First and Cedar. There's an underground storage tank built there, but that was in the 1990s, and that one was cleaned up too. So it doesn't look like those sites are cleaned up and aren't affecting properties on Main Street. So then we looked at the sites on Main Street, walked through each of the buildings, etc., and did research on it. And of the 9 sites that we looked at, there was only really 2 sites that looked like they could have had bills at them. One was at 116 South Main Street. That property was previously an auto body shop in the past. So that could have spilled the soil and groundwater at that property. And then at 101 South Main Street, that was the former firehouse in back there. They could have used firefighting foam and that sort of thing, which has but then the rest of the properties look fairly clean from a spill perspective, but I would say then essentially every one of the properties could have asbestos lead-based paint in it. So I think our next step here is to get a report out for all sites and then meet with each property owner. And talk about what the results are. And we think we can probably have a report done by mid-April. And then from there, we would determine who would want to go forward with any kind of phase 2 testing for their properties. So that would include soil and groundwater testing and or asbestos and lead-based paint surveys of those properties for future planning. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, Rich, can you give us an idea of when you'd like to have a meeting with the property owners?
Oh, yeah, well, I think we would have this report finalized by mid-April. So probably later in April. And whether or not, we could meet with all at once or meet, each person on their own. I mean, we could do it either way.
Okay, if you could let me know when you guys are ready for that, then I will get in touch with all the property owners involved and see if we can't get a date where we can all meet.
Also I have a really great camera called the Owl that we can Zoom with, and then everybody can see everybody and look at the same document together.
Okay. And Janet, you can get with me as well on that information so we can coordinate everything, okay?
But one more thing we need to coordinate, which are owner questionnaires.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically we had a form that each owner could fill out, and it's basically to the best of their knowledge, talking about whether they know of any spills on their property or surrounding sites, etc. But it's part of the standard for phase 1 to have that completed. We did email that to Stephanie previously, and Jan, I think you emailed those off as well recently, right?
Last week.
Okay.
We don't have emails for all the property owners, so.
Can you, Janet, can you provide that list of the ones that you do not have to our temporary city clerk, Lisa Cernick?
Yes, you can.
And then we'll get that back to you as soon as we possibly can, all right?
Okay. Great. And
That's great.
thanks. You wanna jump in now?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes, and is this Seth that we're talking to now?
Yeah, hi, this is Mike. Sorry, I switched over to some Bluetooth,
Okay,
so I can hear everyone a little bit better.
all right.
So we received applications for hidden adventures, and that's at 101 South Cedar. We completed the phase one and assessed the base sampling on the property. We have the reports in. The draft reports actually just came in this morning, so I will be reviewing those this week and hopefully have them back to the contractor with comments or even hopefully approved by the end of the week. So we can expect to have the final report in our office hopefully by the end of next week, and we'll put together a recommendation for whatever, if anything is out. And then we also have the information station, and just pull up that address at 407 North Main. So it's at the former filling station as you come into town on the east side. So we have awarded that project March 10th. So it's in the beginning stages. So what we're doing with that is we're doing a concurrent phase one and phase two. So the phase one will be the site visit and the investigations for lead-based tanks and asbestos. Because of the nature of filling stations, we would automatically recommend soil and groundwater sampling. So that would be the phase two. So we'll be working on those documents here in the next few months. The deadline for that report to be in, pull it up, I believe it was July 14th. And that was a little longer just because we have to do those phase one and phase two back to back. But doing them back to back will actually reduce the total amount of time that would normally be required if we did them separately. So that's kind of where we are with the two that we have now. But I believe we're expecting a third one to come through. So we'll start work on that as soon as we have it, and we'll hit the ground running with it.
Okay, all right, very good. Does the council have any questions for Jana, Seth, or Rich?
I
This
have
time.
a couple more things to go over
Okay.
with you.
All right. Okay, go ahead, Jana.
The other thing, we've been talking with KSU CAB, who was also at the meeting, and they can provide a free market study for Eskridge, city visioning for the downtown, if you're interested. They are anticipating using Stantec as the contractor for the community visioning. And then they did have a question, if you would like to have a market study, they would like to know if there's a specific focus you would have them look at, or is it general economic development opportunities, or would it be tourism or some other type of businesses? And we had kind of talked about that, but we have finally gotten that worked out with KSU CAP, so we can offer that service to you as well.
I would say probably general economics myself, but that and rehabilitation, but I'm not sure if that fits within the scope of what this is. But
Well, and so those are two different things. First, they're going to do a market study, and they wanted to know the specific, if you had any specific focus or areas of interest for them to look at. And the second is doing some community visioning, which is, looking at redevelopment and reuse ideas for the downtown. So it's two different kind of studies.
Okay.
If you are interested in those.
Yes.
And again, those are at no charge.
Yes, we are always interested in anything that can help the city that don't cost us any money.
Okay, so just let them know general economic development.
Yes, that would be great.
And the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was the HEAL grant. I don't know if you have looked into this one. Unfortunately, it is due March 31st, but you can be thinking about it for next year. And if you'd like, I can tell you a little bit about it.
I have been looking at that, and I've realized that March 31st is going to be here faster than we can work on it. So my intent tonight was to have you give us a little information so we can be better prepared to meet the deadline next year.
Okay. I've studied because I thought this would be a great opportunity for Eskridge, and it's the Historic Economic Asset Lifeline, and basically it's for downtown buildings to bring those buildings back to productive uses. It's got a 50-50 match, and it can be either for buildings or the facade. And so for the building category, it's either or, building or facade, up to $75,000 for the building. And that includes things like masonry, foundation, roof, guttering, wiring, ADA accessibility, fire suppression, and it's a long list that it covers. That's $75,000, and then you would make that match. And then the building facade is up to $25,000. And that one, you do have to have plans and elevations and renderings from an architect or landscape architect or someone that are done per the historic preservation guidelines. And then for the building grant of $75,000, you just need, maybe if you were doing a roof, get a roof estimate. So the other interesting thing about it is now only local governments and nonprofits can apply for the community, but they can do it for private citizens or themselves. But this time, each community can only get this grant once, because this is only year 2 of it. And so they're trying to sort of spread it throughout the state, I imagine.
When you say one community can get the grant, does that encompass all the businesses that we can get involved in this, or just a single business?
Well, I need to ask that question. I don't know if Beth knows the answer to that. I assume it can be more than one business.
Okay. Well, we've got a year to figure that out.
Right, we do.
Okay.
It would be $150,000 worth of work, which, as we know, that goes quick.
Yes.
So, it's just a brief run through of the HEAL grant. That is all I have.
It would be a great use of leverage for that money from Prairie Wind that we were talking about earlier. So make that go twice as far. So
right. Just what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
Just a matter of getting our local business people on board with that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly helped save them some money. Okay, Janet, anything else you got for us?
That's it.
Okay, council, you have any questions for Jana or Seth or Rich? I didn't hear that. Nothing. Okay.
kind of anxious just to hear what I guess the next steps would be as far as, what happens once the assessments have taken place. Is that kind of the end of the grant, or is there another opportunity that might present itself afterwards for some of these? Or
Now you're talking now about the brownfield grants. Okay.
Yep.
You understand this question?
Yes. So after everyone gets their phase 1s, and Rick will go over them with every property owner, then they'll decide if they need to go on to a phase 2 or a sampling study, or another grant. And then we will be doing, hopefully, bringing on this summer the market study and then the community visioning.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have anything to add, Rick?
No,
Rick,
no,
there's the
that's
answer.
good.
Okay.
Just that, I guess one thing would be that the assessment grant can't be used for cleanup, and not be used for. So if there's any kind of cleanup required, that has to come out of other funds.
Okay.
Cleanup being petroleum or
Yeah, and or, you know, it's like asbestos abatement, that sort of thing. So, correct.
I missed that. Did you say it can or cannot?
And not.
Okay.
But if, asbestos is still on, there are state funds for addressing petroleum, and dry cleaners.
Yeah, and I can get into that. I think after we get the phase one done and back and have a meeting, it might be easier just kind of go over possible options if those needed. We have quite a few programs within our bureau that could help address cleanup if it's needed. And then we also have our asbestos abatement program, which is in the brownfield program itself. So I am on that as well. That one is a little tricky just because we have a small pool of funding and have to look at each project individually. So we're out of funding for this year, but July 1st we get a new product of funds. So, you know, I think once we get the phase one back, we can look at the properties on a case by case basis to see what if any further assessment or possible cleanup may be needed. And there were some property owners that were interested in structural studies, Beth.
Oh, yeah.
And could we go through you for that or Santa?
So,
Or is that's EPA?
that would be EPA. For the sole reason, you know, CDHE, the Division of Environment, you know, we can look at soil, groundwater, and that kind of thing. We really have no background in looking at and reviewing structural assessments. So we try to avoid some of those for the most part. We may do one a year, but as far as I understand, for the need for downtown Esther, I think it may be a little more than we would really feel comfortable doing. Just because we're not engineers, and so it's not in our wheelhouse.
We have oh, go ahead, Rick.
Oh, just, yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, most of the buildings, have issues, some more than others, obviously. So definitely structural assessment of the current buildings and what can be done, to, you know, save the building, essentially. And yeah, that can be done by EPA.
We can help you with.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty good deal.
We have more options.
Okay. Okay, anybody have anything else you want to ask them at this time?
What are you guys gonna do about if you have an owner of a building on Main Street and you don't want anybody looking at it, and yet I have a building next to me that's got water pouring in, and it's gonna cause me problems. Do we have we do have an ordinance for that, but what do we do about that?
As far as Brownsfield go, there's not anything I don't think that they're going to do anything about that. Am I correct, Janet? You got
It's not here.
Oh, she has a property owner next door to her that doesn't want anybody looking at the building. Is there anything that you guys can do about that?
No, I mean, I guess to force that to happen.
I think that's probably something that's going to have to be addressed with our city attorney as far as ordinance goes to get it cleaned up.
Yeah.
So we'll answer that question ourselves, and we'll let Dolly know that we'll get with Todd on that. Get the legal word for that, what needs to be done. I want to thank Jana and Rick and Seth for your time. And really appreciate it. I look forward to getting the reports. And Janet, you're my contact person at the moment, so I will get back with you once we get more information for you, okay?
Okay, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right. I felt that was the best way to get informed about what was going on with these guys, because the report started or the progress on these buildings started in January, and here we are, middle of March, so it's time to get some updates. Okay, is anyone here for the Mission Valley After Prom?
There was a letter in your. Well, and I emailed and I didn't reprint things off. I apologize. Mission Valley After Prom had requested their annual donation.
Okay, that's it
Last
there.
year, yeah,
Okay,
last year the city donated $250. I don't know. Just FYI, just whether you want to move forward.
I think when we had our budget meeting, that's what we allocated for them this year. Is that right? That you were here and you and Michelle were here for that, right? You remember that?
Mhm.
Okay.
I move to donate $250 to Mission Valley After Prom.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion made to donate $250 to Mission Valley After Prom by Justin, seconded by Michelle. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
You skipped
Approved.
Robin.
I did, sure did. That's why we have people in the audience that tell us what's going on.
She's hungry.
All right, I'm gonna jump back to Robin right quick. I know she'll keep it down to just a minute or two. Robin, you have a photograph for us as well?
I do, but we have to pass this around because
Okay, we didn't have time to get it printed off.
I think it's just a piece of trash, honestly. That maybe it's one over from where they're doing construction on the cabin.
And what is this? Is this the
That's-
floating dock that we were
That's what
talking
I'm
about?
assuming we're talking about.
Okay, and this is on the north side of the lake?
There's confusion about that too. No,
Okay.
it's where the old bridge was.
The last time I saw it is on the east side of the lake, but on the south side. The last time I saw it.
Where you replaced the bridge, where is that the south bridge or the east
That's
bridge?
the East Bridge.
Okay, it's by the east bridge.
Okay. And then you had a picture of the one with the jet ski.
I do.
Okay,
We'll have to get out of there.
that's what I'm interested
Yeah,
in
they want
right
to put
now.
a board underneath it for reinforcement. And
Okay.
I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. Did you got out there and took a photo and
Yes,
you,
sir, I did.
and they have a standard size dock, right?
Ew.
They do, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Yes.
And that's the one we talked about today.
272 Ponderosa.
62.
It's 262 Ponderosa here tonight.
No, it is 270.
I was gonna say, well, we've got trouble.
272. They're not here tonight, apparently.
Okay.
But we just wanted to make sure it was
Okay.
within the parameters of the 20 by 24.
Right. Bear with me.
Okay.
Help, I put my hand in the glass. Kim. Okay, 272. Seriously? I can't find it.
Can we address the other issue?
Oh, here it is.
The,
Never mind.
Let me get up there for you. And I'm learning all my computer stuff, so hopefully next time we'll just have photos for you, but not today. And again, they're just wanting to put a board underneath just for enforcement. When we talked about whether
I'll
that
move
would
to
need a
approve.
permit or not, we don't think.
who did? Who just moved?
Let him have it.
Brett moved to approve the addition to board
I'll second
and Tim seconded.
And then at 469,
Let's finish this one.
okay.
Okay, any further discussion on this
I
one?
told him about that one.
Did
Okay,
you?
those in
Took the
favor?
roll out. And I have.
That's
photos of
approved
it.
board and nothing, so let them know if you would please on that.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you very much.
Robin, real quick, like though, before you go, because I know Tim had kind of advised you, the board for board repair for Richter's is
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Okay.
Did you get an opportunity to look at that one?
You know, what was the address on that one?
That was, 387 Lakeshore. I'd given you a copy of
You
the
did,
permit
I
last week.
didn't.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry about that.
It was just a board, but it's on the agenda later, so. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, KDHE loan sewer project financing.
Well, here's the cover letter and I'll let you read that. I'm not familiar with it and Mike was and he left already. But just, do you remember the financing back in like 18 for the sewer? That's what this is. It's just an amendment. Second amendment, this.
Mhm.
Is it because the interest rate went sky high on us between now and then, or then and now, I guess?
Well, it said it changed nothing in the payment.
Okay.
I'm a fan of the second reading.
Because it changes nothing.
Yeah, I remember KDHE and their interim financing was supposed to come in and basically complete the project and then USDA take it over. Their financing was had some leeway to it. They could supplement that with some loan forgiveness basically. So even if the interest rate went south on us, which I'd say it has by now, that they could still make our sewer rates kind of competitive with everywhere else and not just totally outlandish. So that was subject to them having the funds to do so and everything. But yeah, I don't really remember many specifics of the KDHE, just beyond the fact that they were doing it.
Yeah. Mike snuck out before we got that far because he was more familiar with it.
Yeah, I just thought that was out of their revolving fund or whatever. Yeah.
I don't see any,
State revolving.
I
Yeah.
don't see any changes to it at all.
But they have a point now where they're looking to proceed. Is that?
That's what I'm seeing. We'll take a look at it right quick.
Well, and I think there's time because it didn't say, it said like the first payment wasn't until September of 24. So it could be something I could pinpoint more with Mike and have better information for you. Unless you think it's good to go.
Need action tonight.
I don't think we do, personally.
Let's table it to the next meeting,
Okay.
April 10th.
When Mike can do it.
Yeah.
And then we'll have more information to share with the council.
Makes no sense.
Wow. Yeah, we seem to have locked in the interest rate from the golden times. 40%.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is the transfer of barracks land lease from Sell to Lackey. Are those folks here tonight?
No, they had an email that I had shared with you in your packets that I emailed, and I'll learn next time to reprint those things.
Thank you.
But they sold cabin number 2. Greg and Kelly Lackey have a barrack out there, and they've closed on it. They're just asking the council to transfer that land lease. Everything's paid up in full as far as for the current year.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Yeah, motion to approve the transfer from Sell to Lackey by Brett, seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed?
I'll move to approve the board for board repair for the Richters.
Will you add upon Robin's inspection?
I still want Robin to go out and look at it, but from what I've heard of the repairs, all they're doing is taking wood out and putting fake boards in.
Composite.
I'll second.
Motion approved board for board repair for Richter at 387 Lakeshore. Seconded by Justin. The motion is by Tim, by the way.
With Robin's approval?
Doesn't matter. She's gonna go inspect it either way. If there's something wrong with it, we're gonna hear about it.
Yeah, probably make it contingent then to make it official. Just my opinion. My second will stand either way, but that's up to you.
I'm not making it contingent. I won't do that anymore.
Any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? 0. That one passes 4-0. Okay, under continuing council business, the permit office cooler.
Brett asked me to put that on their agenda.
Okay, comments, Brett?
No, I just had her put it on the agenda because Julia came with a bid for it and she opens like in less than a week and
Okay.
there was no action taken on it, so.
Office cooler.
Okay. What do you got
For
for it?
beer, it'd be the beer cooler.
Mhm.
I think it was 8.
Are we gonna keep using the other one until it dies?
It's really on its last leg, but I came in a can. The doors you just can't hardly get open. They're broken off of the slatey thing at the top. So I mean you have to use both hands to open. I mean it's still
Is it worth selling?
no.
You have a bid for us?
She had a bid, it was $1,800.
Yeah,
What was the
18
square cubic foot?
something. Sorry, I wasn't ready today. I'm sorry.
As a suggestion, the older your machine does have, the more electricity it burns,
Mhm.
so your electric bill's gonna go up. So I
You
would,
think we can get that opinion from a professional electrician?
And it
that would
really
be my
is.
opinion.
It's loud and yeah. I mean it's loud and it doesn't. Yeah,
It doesn't
the
close,
doors
does it?
they don't seal, so it is having to run twice as much, just because it's letting the cool air out. But I can.
Who was the bid from and how much?
I just looked it up online at like I think it was Home Depot for $1,800 or something. I'll look it up again. That's my bad. I mean I could look it up now and catch it before the end of the meeting.
I mean, they just need to.
Right.
Price
We
where it
can
gives not to
approve
exceed.
something up to a certain amount,
To exceed.
and you can check with the other facilities as well.
Okay, yeah, because we
In-
should
in
be able to
town.
get it tax exempt. That was the cheapest one that I found.
You can even check with Eskridge Lumber and see if they have an outlet where they can possibly get it and have it delivered down here somewhere. Maybe we can get a better deal. Just saying.
All right, I'll look into it. I did, yeah, because I just kind of dropped the ball because I was like, well,
Julie, another thing
Nobody's-
you might check is your beer distributors. Sometimes like Coca-Cola will furnish a
I think they've stopped doing that.
cooler if
But-
you use their product. Okay,
Yeah,
that was just a thought.
I wish they would. Yeah, I'd love a Bud Light cooler for free. That'd be my best bet. Yeah, and
I think there's somebody that might live out the lake that has something to do with that. You might be able to butter them up.
maybe.
Just to tell the city a little bit of something, I just did some freezer research, Julie, and there's some secondhand refrigerators that maybe are like, depending on what they are, if they're 5 years old, like if it's a true, they'd be worth having if you half the price. So there's some warehouses, there's at least 2. One of them's on 32nd Street. I'll get the name for you. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Charlie, let me ask you,
Red ones that I got.
let me ask you a question about those coolers. Okay, and I've just messed with you because I know you're an electrician, but a new cooler in this example here, roughly how long would you say under the use that we're going to be having it for, would it go before we start deteriorating with the amount of electricity that's being used? That question makes sense?
On that sense, I can't really answer it because I'm not used to working with equipment. I know the older the equipment is,
Yeah,
and I put meters and stuff on them to check them. And the older they get, the more electricity they get.
Right.
They may last another 5-6 years, but and like I say, that it doesn't seal up and let all the air out. It's just going to be working twice as hard.
mhm. But a new one ought to give us a good 5 or 6 years at least, I would
Oh,
think,
yeah.
wouldn't you? Okay, all right. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
You just gotta make sure
Especially
your
when
doors
it's
and stuff
on
are solid.
used permit.
How many times do the windows and doors open and close?
Yeah. Yep.
You gotta have good manufacturer built.
Okay.
Oh.
So, considering the fact that the bait house opens this coming Saturday, do you guys want to allocate up to the next dollar amount?
Move to approve up to $1,800 the permit office cooler.
I think it was 18 something, and then
Taxes.
All right.
do 19, and then that'll cover it for sure,
All right.
if you don't mind.
What's that?
19 to cover it for sure.
Oh, okay. Just yeah. Okay. I'm into 1,900.
I'm sorry, what was that, guys? Anything for us? Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, about ready to close it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion to authorize the purchase of a cooler for the bait house, not to exceed $1,900, including tax. By Justin, seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
I should be able to use your guys' tax number, right?
I think so.
So no gas.
Yeah, if it's us paying for it, then yeah.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the camping and fishing and boating fees. Who wants to start with that?
You know, I like the idea the gentleman had. I guess there was two different ideas that were presented, but one of them being, you know, the big 3 weekends, the Memorial Day, Labor Day, and July 4th, reserving for a block of time. I think that makes sense rather than just have somebody come in 2 days. And then also the higher rate, what that is, I don't know. Maybe, you know, maybe do 50% higher. Or is that 18? So that'd be $27. If I'm remembering the base rates right, but I don't know. But even then, does that make a huge dent in the, you know, huge impact? No, but it probably, you know, it helps some.
Why not?
It helps it from escalating in other areas, I guess. But for as much, I still think we probably need to go up in general for fishing and boating. At least camping is kind of, you know, I saw what Debbie said about camping. I mean, I kind of have the same opinion that, you know, I've been to other campgrounds and seen the amenities there. It's hard to justify that, you know, why is this campground higher out at Lake Wabunsee or potentially higher, you know, given that, you know, the shower houses and everything. You know, we aspire to be there, but it is hard to justify, but we also have to get there somehow. So.
Okay, there is a proposal in your packet tonight. I'm not sure where that came from.
Well,
but
Brett,
Brett brought it in. Okay.
It's basically what we discussed all at the last meeting, what I had talked about. I didn't know, I don't think she got anything from anybody else, did you, Lisa?
no.
Okay. So basically mine, I did what I said. My suggestions were, after I gave the abysmal report of how much we don't make. What I did say that I would get that I didn't have then was the numbers by my proposed increases, what it would generate. I was hoping to generate $10,000 to $12,000 more. When I ended up figuring this up, it was 10,872. Now that's off of the high numbers that we had last year, which was the best season that we've had. So obviously, weather and different things like that's gonna come into play there, which even makes only $500 profit even more scarier because it could be less than we could be in the hole. I took in consideration, Tim, with the camping, and I only raised the electrical spots. I didn't raise any of the other ones. And then I did not propose to raise any of the change permits either. Was direction of the non-motorized out. It seemed like I wanted to knock that down. So what I had proposed was the $20, and that's with the inspection fee. With the aquatic inspection fee.
Mr. Mayor, since we don't have, the public doesn't have a copy of that, could we get a brief overview of what changes that we're discussing?
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
I've also asked Lisa to provide a copy of what the current rates are. I want to know what the current rates are as compared to what the proposed rates are. And before we get into all that, does anybody have any idea how long it's been since rates were raised on these two issues?
It was 2020. And before that was 2015.
2015,
2015 and 2020.
and 2020.
I have that information.
So this is the beginning of the fourth season then, 2021, 22. This is the beginning of the fourth season. So
Went up too.
Correct. So for them right now. Before there was the proposed resident fees.
That's the last resolution.
This one takes.
this is the current one.
I'm just gonna go down the list. So the old one was resident season fishing permit. It's staying. This is wrong, Lisa. Or this is. Yeah, this is wrong
the 20
because
to 2020.
I didn't propose
I don't
to
have a
increase the
2020
fishing,
resolution.
so these are wrong prices.
I don't have a 2020 resolution.
Yeah, I don't think she did that resolution.
I can email this to you real quick and you can print this off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at the 2020.
Yeah, this is the current one.
Richard, would you like a copy of 2015's just so you have a record of what it was then? And then we'll get you a copy of the
If it's
2020.
convenient.
The resident
I don't think it's
season
a
fishing
problem.
permit is staying the same at $9. The non-resident season fishing permit, the proposal is to stay the same at $13.50. The 1-day fishing permit stay the same at $3. The 5-day fishing permit stay at $5.75. The season guest fishing permit with restrictions will stay at $29. Camping permits stay at $6. RV parking per unit per day without electric will stay $11. With electric will go up $2 from 16 to 18. Premium electric would go up from $18 to 20. RV dump station for non-campers would go up to $14, which was 11. Then we get into the non-motorized boat. Those fees would be cut almost in half, and the aquatic or the inspection fee you wouldn't be paying the inspection fee for that anymore, basically, but you'd still be getting inspected. So the fee and the inspection would be all inclusive.
You said it's 20, you're suggesting it to be 20.
Instead of the regular 38 that it would have been.
Yes.
That would give us doing that a loss of $1,650 though.
Will you be dropping the inspection from?
Just for non-motorized. So then the 10 horsepower and under would be, yes, $38. For everybody across the board, this is where the resident and non-resident, there's no longer a resident, it's all non-resident. Or there's no resident, non-resident, it's just one fee straight across, whether you're a resident or you're a non-resident of Lake or Eskridge. So
What were they before? If you're raising
That's
it
what
to
I'm-
38.
So before, for a non-resident, it was $38, and for a resident, it was $20. So that's an increase of $18. The same thing, the same increase for the 11 to 50 horsepower. The non-resident paid 50, a resident paid 40. The 51 to 100 horsepower, the fee would be $86. That's a difference. 31. Yes, of 31. The 101 to 165 was 120. That would be a difference of $50. And the 166 horsepower and over, there's a difference of $75. 1-day boating fee with or without motor stays the same at 20, and 5-day boat with or without motor stays the same at 40. The inspection fee for vessel is still the same at 28.
That was last year.
And
Okay, you wanna start that over now, Brett?
Here, you can have my copy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the first.
Yeah, you could just look at whatever the non-resident is, and then that would be everybody
That's what I
essentially.
was afraid of.
Yeah.
So like I said, losing the inspection fees and lowering the non-motorized will lose us about $1,650. But getting rid of resident, non-resident, is going to gain us back $10,872, which still is not a lot. But it's on its way. The only question I had was, I went back and forth about the camping, but I raised it with the electrical just because I know electrical rates have went up. So I mean, there's that.
Well, and anybody that plugs in a camper out there has got their AC going.
Non-stop.
I know when my brother camps out there, he does.
I do know that was the one thing that Tim said at the end of the meeting last time, was that he didn't like the fact of raising camping fees. So I guess, is that at all period, or is there
That is my feeling. 110%. I'm gonna throw another curveball at you, since I didn't look closely at this until just now. But up where it says fishing permits required for ages 16 to 74, I know that's what the state requires, but the state is wrong. I don't think that you should have to buy a fishing permit after you retire.
Which is
it 62?
I retired at 55, so I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
but they
think there
have
is.
to have a Kansas state
Okay.
license. They should
I
have,
can't correct the state. I'd sure like to.
right, but
I
if
got a
they
thing
have
or
to
two to
have
tell
one for
them.
the Kansas, they should have to have one from us.
I just want to question the handout that just came out with the yellow highlighting on it. These are the fees that went into effect in 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
So 2020 is when this went into effect. 2020. There was no.
There's some things that got changed the dock wise. That's
No, I'm talking about.
That's on
I'm
there,
talking.
but
Well, not,
I think the last time we adjusted the camping and everything was 2020. So you'd be correct on that.
so
yeah, this has all of it on there, but I
Camping.
wasn't
yeah.
interested in raising dock or structure fees. Or any
No dock
releases.
or
Right,
structure
yeah.
fee increases.
No, no dock or structure fee increases.
Because they increased last year, right?
Correct.
2022, these increased, but for 2020, 2021, and 2022, everything prior on this list to dock and structure fees is what the rate was during those 3 years. Okay, all right.
My lifetime fishing cost me $42, and I turned 65, and I don't have to have another.
Yeah. And I like that. I'm gonna get me one too. I should have bought it 50 years ago when I could have got one for
But if you get another
$175.
license on with that, I mean, the
Yeah.
price goes up, and it's a
Just say-
lifetime situation.
You're not gonna get it for that cost today.
Probably not.
Probably not, but we started.
When I was 65, that's 5 years ago, I
65.
got
It
$42.
might have been 62.
So, that's a thought too. Lake Wabunsee could easily have a lifetime fishing license as well, wouldn't you think? I don't know how, I don't know how the state figured the premium for that. I know for a young person that might be 16, 17 years old, it's upwards of $400 for a lifetime fishing license
They
now.
won't be able to get one. You have to be at 65 is what they told me.
Oh, they eliminated the earlier ones? Is that what you're saying, the younger age?
Yep.
I know my son got one. He paid $400 for his about 20 years ago.
I
Best
just bought a
investment he
lifetime
made.
for my 1-year-old grandson.
Really? I'll be
Combo. If you know any grandkids, if you got any little babies, you better hurry up and jump on that opportunity because they're not going to run it much longer.
It's like $1,000, isn't it?
Nope.
Really?
Think I'm gonna spend that on my son's.
Well, I don't know.
He's an engineer. He
I
can
was
pay for
thinking you're a high
that.
roller, but
No, they're very cheap. They're very cheap for the combo.
okay.
For 5 and under.
For hunting and fishing.
Mhm.
I see that.
I can't recommend it highly enough.
Well, I think
I'll
that's
have to
something we
tell
should.
my daughter
Can
that.
we go backwards just a little bit, talking about the holiday weekends and whatnot? You guys have some of those, I'll call them shelter houses. They're just the concrete pads with the roof. Is it possible to take advantage of that situation with the holiday pads and or the structure, shelter things and rent those out in like 2-hour spans with half hour in between for like $20 an hour. I feel like people would use them. You could maybe, I don't know, most high schools make their students do some type of community service. Maybe get a couple of Mission Valley kids to get credit for that, to help clear out trash in that 30 minutes in between and make sure things are cleaned up for the next group, and take advantage of that and do that, for the 3-day weekend or whatever it is, 4-day weekend, that they can rent those, campers can rent those shelter houses for a certain amount of money and total profit.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think currently the shelter houses are rented in 4-hour blocks.
They're not.
And hang on. Let me rephrase it from rented to reserved. They're reserved in 4-hour blocks at no cost to anyone.
Right.
That's the way they
Which
currently
should
are.
continue for the Eskridge community throughout the year, but as we just had someone state, most of your community is not out there camping on the holiday weekends. They steer clear of it. So why not take advantage of those out-of-towners
Well,
who
to me, it's-
would graciously?
To me, doing so would not be any different than raising the camping rates for the holiday weekends. The principle's the same, and I like that. But I just want everybody to know, as it currently stands, the shelter houses are reserved in 4-hour blocks.
Right.
I apologize for using the word rented, because I knew that. As soon as I said it, I knew it was going to throw everybody off from where I was going with that.
Or whatever time
Yes,
period, but
right.
if you keep that to a shorter amount, the more profit for you. Like I said, the
Sure.
high school can do the volunteers they can, you can have separate cans, have whoever take the profit from cans, that are in a particular trash can and things like that. So
It's a good idea. And can I ask what your name is, please?
I'm Julie Stevie. I'm a resident out at Lake Wabunsee.
Julie
Julie Stevie.
Stevie. Okay.
Yes.
Are you related to the man who used to be principal at Mission Valley?
No.
Okay. Then I won't hold that against you, okay? No, just teasing you there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just to kind of offset, and get something that's total profit coming
Sure.
in.
Now, I like that idea. Just need to talk to the council and see what they have to say about it.
Terry, why don't we rent out, if somebody wants to reserve one, why don't we do that? Not even just on holidays, but, if they,
Are you saying charge them? Are you saying charge them for it?
Huh?
Are you saying charge them or just let them
I
reserve it?
thought we always did. And then
No,
I was
we were
informed
never
a couple
supposed to be
years ago,
charging.
No, we didn't, yeah.
We were never supposed to be charging. I know that
Why?
some people were charged and they got refunded once
Well, I
once
know
we got
that,
into that.
I know that, but
Well, I can't speak for previous councils, but this one here hasn't even addressed the possibility of renting those sort of things.
well, only if it wanted to be reserved, if people were just out there. If I wanted to go out there and have a party or something, and I wanted to reserve it, then I would think I would have to pay for a reservation.
Well, to me, it would make sense to do that, but like I said, it's the council that's got to decide if that's going to be something they would want to implement or not.
Well, I know that if a person wants to have a party and you want to reserve it, then you shouldn't mind paying $20 for that privilege.
They shouldn't, especially those people that park their camper beside the shelter house and
Yeah.
they
If you want to
assume.
reserve a city diamond in Topeka, Kansas, it costs you $20 to reserve it.
Yeah,
Period, doesn't matter what time of the year. Now, they do have first come, first serve,
right,
unless you have it reserved.
right.
Someone else shows
Yeah.
up with the
I,
piece
I,
of paper that shows that they've got it reserved, you have to leave.
I think it's a great idea that we would do that. In fact, it could easily help offset some of the costs of other things that they're wanting to implement.
Yeah.
If I wanted to have a birthday party out there and wanted to reserve it, I wouldn't mind setting down $20.
Sure, I'm sure you're not by yourself. I think there's a lot of people that would pay money for it. But like I said, covering the cost of reserving a shelter house could very easily offset some of the increases in other things that they're looking at.
Because I would hate to go up to a place and want to have a party there and then there's already somebody there, so I'm not gonna sit, I wouldn't do it, but if it was reserved.
Yeah.
But would you, if you have campers on either side of you, snuggle in between the two of them and feel comfortable to have a party?
Sure. I'm a very friendly person. But they'd have to bring their own beer.
It certainly can't hurt to try it because you're currently making zero.
Exactly.
And someone is monitoring those
No.
places.
If they're just a picnic table underneath the,
There, maybe they'll campers.
you'd be surprised what some people.
Is that something we could address at a later time? These we were discussing.
Okay, Richard.
I have a question on the floating device as part of the proposal. By doing away with the residential category and moving everything to non-residential fee equivalent, is that to eliminate the confusion and the abuse of people registering a boat and saying they're a resident when they truly aren't? Is that the philosophy behind that?
It should be.
About losing the resident to non-resident?
Yeah, about not segregating residents from non-residents. Everybody's boat is going to cost the same if it's in this category. Is that why you're wanting to do that, to avoid that confusion and abuse?
No, because the bait shop can't handle it.
I think that that's one perk of doing it, yes.
Okay.
But ultimately, with the numbers that I gave, which I've repeated, with the increase to what we gave at the bait shop, if we hit the biggest numbers we've ever hit again 2 years in a row, which the likelihood of that happening is not probable, we're left with $500. That gives us no room for improvements. That gives us no room for maintenance. We did have a caretaker at the lake, and Robin last year was tough. She only worked not quite a half a season. So that salary there is going to double as well. So I'm trying to generate money so that we can at least break even.
Raise up the non-resident. Don't make the residents just pay for everything you can.
The residents have
You
twice
know,
as much
and
access
then
to the
because,
lake,
you know,
though,
we're
as a
keeping up the
non-resident.
shoreline.
That's what I was taking into
And
consideration.
we keep the shoreline in most of the places, you know, presentable, clean. But then we're gonna get charged more than everybody else.
I would say that it's not against the thought process to go ahead and raise it for the residents, nominal fee, whatever, and raise it for the non-residents as well. If you want to generate money.
Our non-residents already pay, in my opinion, a very, very steep price. And they don't get near the amount of time or freedom on the lake that what current residents do. The current residents, excluding residents of Eskridge, but the people that live in the county that surround the lake, they get to go on the water whenever they want. They don't have a time frame that they have to follow by. They don't have any guidelines. They can launch when the bait shop's not open. They get to utilize the lake way more extensively at some half the price of somebody else.
Keeping the lake in good condition and you know, palatable and livable because they keep their boat on the lake. And most of the time, I'm assuming that most of the time the non-residents show up again on the high weekends when I don't put my boat on the water during those weekends.
I understand the need for revenue, and that leads me to this question, that on non-motorized, it appears that last year residents paid $20 a year and non-residents paid $38. And this year you're proposing all non-motorized be at 20, the lower instead of the 38. What's the thought process behind that?
What do you mean? So it would have been 20 plus a $10 inspection fee. So let's just use a kayak, for example. You would have paid $20 and a $10 inspection fee.
Okay.
Here, you pay the $20 and it's inclusive of the inspection. So you're not getting a $10 inspection fee added onto that. Now, non-residents were paying the $38 plus the inspection fee on top of it. So that's $48, right?
Correct. Right, so why don't you continue to do that with the non-residents?
Well, I don't know. It's been an idea before the council to try to do away or reduce the non-motorized fees in general, just to, I guess, encourage kayaks or
But I
whatever.
guess it makes you feel like, you know, if you live at that lake, you're the resident. And then your price is gonna go up and the non-resident's gonna stay right there.
Yeah.
You know, so
Right.
who's getting the,
Yeah, but we have 3 times as many resident
I'm
people
sure.
as non-residents. But there was probably a fourth of them who weren't residents who said they were.
Yeah, but again, we
And-
punish people who cheat, and we don't punish. Reward the cheaters. I'm sorry. I
Well, we
missed
just
that.
make it one price across the board, and you know everybody pays the same. It's all good. You guys get twice as much access to the lake as that.
Our taxes are
How do we
twice
get
as much.
twice as much
Your taxes
access?
ain't got nothing to do with
How do
us.
we get
good.
Well, everybody's got their hand in their pocket, quite frankly, and it just kind of hurts.
We'll move away from the lake.
Oh,
If I might add something
all
here,
right.
Julie,
Hey,
if I might add something, please. You know, you mentioned taxes. That is, we don't get a cent of that.
Right.
We don't get a cent of your taxes. Taxes have nothing to do with it.
We're also
It
actually
all
not
goes
represented.
to
We
the
don't-
county.
We can't get anybody that lives on there, on this council, because we don't live in the city of Eskridge. However, you control our destiny.
Well, the city owns the lake.
I understand.
And you come to us. Otherwise, you wouldn't. I mean, if you
And I'm the
didn't
guy
want
that
something
suggested
from us,
raising boat rates.
you would be having to
Because
pay
you have a-
anything.
Clearly have a monetary problem here.
I do have a question. So, you keep talking about how they have, non-residents don't have as much access and time. Are they limited on times to come on the lake?
Yes.
Yes, they
gate has
are.
to be opened.
So if you have to do that for non-residents, why can't you keep their fee higher?
That's also for residents too, because the residents also considered residents are people that live in Eskridge, which that's their lake, and
Right.
they're restricted at the time frame that they can go out there. Meanwhile, the other half of the residents, which would include your body of people, get to have all access at all times, whenever you want. Even in the wintertime, if it's a light winter, you can be on the water all you want.
And the city.
I understand why we.
It's not an us and bring up some type of fee. Residents from the lake, it's always raise it here, but don't raise us. It's always never raise us. And we've had multiple work sessions now to fend off questions and hear people's thing. Nobody's opinions have changed. We've all heard this, but we can't sit here another hour and debate all of this because we have a resolution that we have to pass before the bait shop opens this weekend. And with all due respect, we need to start focusing on that before another
I
hour
need
passes.
the hours. What are the hours for the non-residents? What hours can they come out and put their boat on?
From 6 to 9 p.m.
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
to 9 p.m.
Huh.
And not on Wednesday.
6 days a week.
And not on Wednesday. And then in October, not anytime during the week except on the weekends. And in April, only from 7 to 5. Because that's when the bait shops open. So, I mean, it's
Not at all
restricted.
between November 1st and April and March 31st.
Yeah, and not at all. And they're yearly passes. And I'm just gonna say, if you bought a boat and you had a yearly pass, you'd be able to utilize it 12 months out of the year, weather permitting, if we had a slow winter or not. An Eskridge citizen wouldn't have that option. They only have that 6-month window, and so does every other person that doesn't.
And they have to be off by 9 o'clock, have their boats off the lake.
Absolutely.
And so on the 4th of July, nobody out there, all those boats that's out there on the lake are only Lake Wabunsee residents.
And you know, last year there was an issue. The gate was locked at 9 o'clock because that's what time it closes. Everybody's supposed to be off. And the bait shop operator left and people weren't on there that weren't supposed to be on there. And they either cut the lock, opened the gate and had it free for all because they wanted to do what they wanted to do.
Because we've lived here since '88 and I've never heard of that rule. We've lived here for 35 years and never heard hourly restriction, have you?
And I take
That's
my
a,
boat-
well, but no,
I
the
take my
gate,
boat
the
off in
gate
the
has
winter
been
so
up
I can
and
get it
locked
winterized
for
and don't
years.
lose the motor and stuff like
The
that.
gate, I mean, the permit office, the gate has been there for years and they lock it.
Just since Zebra Mussels came in.
I think they had a gate, but it probably wasn't locked.
Yeah.
Or they had,
That's been
they
an
had an
issue
opportunity
too.
to check out a key.
Priorly
Yeah.
is that
I mean,
it
'cause
wasn't
we've got
kept locked,
Zebra
or
Mussels
everybody
anyway.
everybody has a code. Everybody has the code, you know, which is not good either.
Oh, okay, I don't have the code.
One of the few. It's a key now, so there's no code.
There's the code.
Anyway, I don't like
You
the
do-
debating back and
You
forth
do
all the
whatever you
time.
want to, 'cause
Um,
that's what you guys are gonna do
but
anyway, so.
The hard
Well,
fact
anyway,
remains is that when I did the numbers, $500 isn't going to cut it for us, especially if we have a rainy season. We have blue-green algae. We have anything that affected Dave Dunbar in his 3 years there that made him not be able to perform the way that he wanted to because of outer things. And we have to generate money. I mean, we need updates.
Brent, did you say that the city residents of Eskridge are not considered residents?
They are considered residents, but they're restricted in their time.
Because they don't, I mean, unless they want to tie up to somebody's dock.
Right.
I still don't understand why you're going down on non-motorized vessels, because as I recall from the numbers discussed earlier, there's a lot of permits sold to those.
There's 165 non-motorized.
Why reduce the fees?
I don't want to reduce the fees, but I was trying to suffice everybody else because collectively I'm outnumbered in that. I mean, they've all talked about it, and therefore decreasing it. So I was trying to work with the rest of the council. Honestly, if it was me alone, I would keep it the way that it was, but I was trying to work with everybody so that we could pass this before it opens this weekend.
These are proposed rates anyway. They're not set in stone at this moment.
They're not. They're a proposal.
Let me ask you a question. At the bait shop, who, you sell beer at candy bars, where does that money go? It's
It's
in
all
the city's
private.
coffers?
It's private.
No, I get.
Okay, you get that, okay.
I get the profit
So
from the big-
I'm just proposing an idea, and I don't mean to hurt, not to offend. But if we did a completely mail-in situation, we know how many docks exist on that dock. We can count. We know that where boats can stay and where they can't stay. And we know if boats show up there. If you did this whole thing by mail, you could collect a reasonable rate from every honest person at the lake, and it would be far discounted from that, and save the entire collection services fees for the boats.
How are you gonna inspect it in the mail?
Well, what do we inspect? I've seen my boat inspected for 25 years or better, and all they do is spray watered down Clorox on the prop and the wheel and say you're cool. That ain't keeping those evil muscles out. That's why we have them. Because that was a farce.
Katie, we can thank Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks.
I don't mean
That was their
to offend,
guidance.
But that's why
Oh,
we
no,
have
I
one
know.
Solution and all
Yeah.
that. That was
It's a
their.
terrible solution.
These non-motorized things that we're gonna get charged for, they're gonna come out and do an inspection at your house on them. Julie will come out and inspect that kayak, because I'm not gonna paddle my ass to across the lake.
Well, kayaks are pretty hard to get full of junk. But
Well,
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out, is there a different system?
Well, I
like
just-
that boat?
I
And
just-
then let the bait shop stand on its own for those purposes?
Now, I know you've been to other work sessions and other meetings we've had about this subject before. I don't recall the gentleman in the back. I don't even know who he is. Can I ask your name?
Chris Walker.
Chris Walker. Nice to meet you, Mr. Walker. I like some of the things you talked about tonight, but in previous meetings that we've had, have you been to previous
I have.
meetings about this? And I apologize for not remembering you being
I
there.
was at the one that was down at the,
Yeah,
down the street.
well, along with about 80 other people. Okay, that's probably why I
Back
didn't
Again.
recognize you, but I believe that at a lot of these meetings, I've asked for citizens that live out the lake to be part of a committee, and I haven't got anybody to agree. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to do what that committee says, but being part of a committee to help us resolve some of these problems would go a long ways. And I hear time and time again that you guys don't have a voice. Well, you do have a voice. I think was pretty evident that night down at Senior Citizen Center when there's 80 people out there, and it made an impact on the council's decision on what they made that night. Do you recall that? So you guys really do have a voice, but you don't have a voice if you don't come to the meetings or if you don't let us know. Okay,
You know, when I say
and
we
I
don't
hope
have a
Richard
voice,
puts
we-
that in his article.
When I say we don't have a voice, no one out there can vote for someone that's on this.
Right,
council, is
yes,
that correct?
and I
So
understand that.
Representative Republic is not.
It's
what's
not
happening
there.
out
Yes, I agree, and there's not a whole lot we can do about that.
But you can vote for your county representatives and county positions because, I mean, you don't reside in a town, you are county. Lake Wabunsee isn't a town. It's the county. You basically live in rural
I live in
country.
Shawnee County,
And
but
you
I
can
own
vote for
property
all
in
of those positions that go out rurally or through the county. Absolutely. But I mean,
And
I mean, you don't expect to not be able to, you don't expect to vote for Eskridge City Council and not actually reside in the city of Eskridge, right?
No.
Okay, just clarify that.
1,000%, but I still am just saying that we are at the mercy of the council, and I understand that. I'm again the guy that's saying, I think you need to raise rates for everybody. I do, because without money, that thing is a garbage dump,
Yeah,
and I like the way it is.
Yeah. And there again, that's my reasoning for trying to get people involved to help us make decisions. And my door is always open. My email is always out there. If somebody wants to,
I believe that I responded to someone's email that I would be more than happy to be on a committee.
well, I promise you, if it were mine, I would have responded. I would have jumped on that. And you're more than welcome to take my business card with you tonight and get some people. I did have a Lake resident. I couldn't even tell you who this individual was, but the only thing I remember is a female. Not to put the females down, please understand that. But I asked if she would be willing to be on the committee, and she said yes, as long as we don't have any Eskridge residents on the committee. Well, sorry, we're gonna have a group. We're not gonna have just one solid side, which is what you guys feel like you have now. One solid side, the city government against you guys. And I don't want it to be that way, and I'm sure you guys don't either. It has to be a collective bargaining, so to speak, to make things right and help resolve the concerns and issues that everybody has, not only ours, but y'all's. Personally, I think that'd be the best way to do it. But we're not at that point. Now, likewise, we do not have to have a resolution made tonight. I will say that.
I have to put all this into the computer by
You do.
next Saturday.
You do, that's fine. And if we don't make a resolution tonight, then what you put into computer tonight is what we currently have. If we don't make any changes. And then if we end up making changes, then everybody that got their fishing license or their voting fees or whatever paid for before the new resolution got paid in, good for them. Anybody that don't.
Make sure,
That is a
make
horrible
sure to let
idea.
everybody know. I need an LWID, bill that
So what
matches
if we're
that
in the
name
negative?
with the vote.
What are you proposing for in the negative?
Who's a resident?
Hang on.
And that's easy to do. and
But that
we've
means
got
no
that-
updates and improvements to that home.
I know,
But you don't have any guarantee.
We're suffering.
All right, hey, one at a time, please. One at a time. Let's be controlled here. Go ahead.
Is
Julie.
it possible to send out a mailing, or what do you get in the mail? That could say, here's what we need when you come to pay these fees. I mean, that's a pretty simple thing, so that everybody at the lake knows we have to prove this is what we need.
Richard has everybody on their mailing addresses.
Well, I don't know about everybody.
One challenge you do have, I believe, is people having some of the properties in trusts. And what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That when 9 people own the cabin and they got it in the trust, and then how do they get by default? You would have 9 people with voting resident rights. And what's so bad? What?
There's 9 of them. They can cop up the extra dollars for the non-residents.
Well, we can be
I
all
mean,
made.
it's
The
not fair.
argument can be made. Here's the truth. At City of Eskridge bought the lake in 1935, 42, whenever it was. And that's those folks that paid the taxes for the $1 billion bond that was issued 70, 100 years ago are the people who paid for this lake. And you're the stewards of it now. That's where we're at. It isn't like each one of it's been entrusted to you to take care of, and we get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think the city has some obligation. You don't put all your bonuses on the trailer you're pulling behind your Mercedes. Your Mercedes has to carry your weight too. The lake is your trailer you're pulling. And we're neglecting the Mercedes that's doing the pulling, the heavy lifting, in my opinion, should be some of the horsepower here, not just depending on your trailer, the sell point of the county, if you will. But
There's
that
also,
is truth of who paid for it and how it came to be.
yeah. And
Brett, what's the most expensive fee that we have out here this year?
It is the
The 183. would be
166 horsepower and over, which is
So it's under $200 or right under $200 for the year.
mhm.
Yeah.
And we're talking about,
We sold very few of those.
I'm just against not having a non-resident fee be higher. Personally.
Well, I personally believe that it's come to a head in 2023 because from the time the council took control of the lake in the late 1930s, they never did keep up with cost improvements and things as time went on. And I think we're all old enough to realize that as we were growing up, and I'm not talking about our teenage years, I'm talking about from the time we were probably 20 and on, pretty much on our own. We've experienced firsthand that governments in the bigger cities where we lived, everything was going up every year to keep up with improvements and things of this nature. You've got an entity here that never did that and sometimes went 20 or 25 years. And then when they tried to raise rates to do something, they caught hell for that. I'm just going to throw it out there. And we're at a point where we've tried to appease everybody.
Whoa, Terry.
What?
Forgetting about the spillway. 2 different times the city of Eskridge fixed that spillway. The second time they did it right. The city of Eskridge has taken care of the lake in that important manner.
On that issue, I agree with you. I agree with you. But I think everybody can also tell me that we weren't charging $150 for a boat put on the lake in 1930. If we were charging anything at all. And just look at what the fees were over the years and how many. That's why I asked earlier, when's the last time rates went up? Okay, 2015, and then they didn't raise the rates for 5 years. And then they didn't raise them again for 3 years. I mean, they raised them in 2015, they raised them in 2020. Now they're talking about raising them in 2023, which is a 4-year period.
And I will say,
so my point is, excuse me, just a minute. My point is, we can't control what happened over the last 7,500 years for what the council did. And we're all in that position now where we're trying to get to the point where we can, at a minimum, maintain what we've got. And unfortunately, the folks that are living here now are the ones that pretty much are suffering for those increases. That's just my personal belief. Okay. Now we can all agree to disagree, or you can have your own opinions, and I'd be glad to hear them as well. But I'm personally in favor of a tiered, structured increase. You know, if you knew over the next 10 years that we needed to raise $1 million to dredge a lake, and I know it costs a ton more than that, I'm just using that as an example, you'd certainly do agree to making payments, slight increases every year for the next 10 years to get that money than to be slapped with it all at one time 10 years from now. And had that sort of thing been going on, we wouldn't be here tonight discussing this. But here we are because it hadn't happened before. I'm sorry, what?
It was brought up before about dredging the lake and starting it.
I'd use that as an example, Dolly. I didn't say that's what we're going to do.
My issue is with the non-residents versus the residents, because I think if you make those fees the same, you have a lot more non-residents on there, and the lake becomes more dangerous and there's more liable situations. I know on those holiday weekends, like them, we don't go out and view from our boat. We typically have not, because there's so many people out there that don't know the rules of the lake, and it's very dangerous. Yes, and they're just nonstop this and throwing beer cans in the lake and everything else. And I don't want more of that than is already happening, is my opinion.
So does anyone here have a solution, have proposal? How do we address that where you feel like it's fair? And I'll go back to what Brett said a while ago. A non-resident, and I would be considered a non-resident. I don't have a boat, so I'm really not. It doesn't affect me because I can walk on the shore all year round.
But technically, the way it's set, you are a resident.
Your fee would
Resident
be charged to
means a
resident.
person that lives out at the lake or inside.
I
of
understand.
Eskridge.
I understand it.
Okay.
What I'm saying is I don't have a boat, so I'm not restricted to the time frame between April 1st and October 31st. I can go out there year round, all I want, and fish wherever I can get on the lake because I don't have a boat. If I had a boat, then I can only get on the lake, even though I'm a resident of Eskridge, I could only get on the lake between April 1st and March and October 31st. Does that make sense? For me, right? So now I have to sit back and relax a second because I lost my train of thought. That's my age catching up. But I guess what I'm trying to say is there a way that you can prorate the daily fee and incorporate it as a lump sum for the non-residents that's equivalent to what the resident would pay at their rate?
What was the percentage difference before? Was it double? How much more did the non-resident pay?
I think,
than the resident?
I believe it was $80 for one resident and $155 for the non-resident. Does that sound right? I get it right here. I'm looking at the higher rate.
155 and 80 on a large motorized boat.
That was the
180,
biggest.
80,
155 for non-resident, 80 for resident
Yes.
for a motorized.
Yes, I think that's what I said, $80 and then 100. I said it backwards, $80 for resident, 155 for non-resident.
But that was the biggest one.
Well,
The other
that's
ones were-
almost double.
Almost double, yeah.
So if you said
But the rest of them were almost double. That one was that
The
big,
rest of them
the
were-
big motor one. The other ones were only like between $10 and $20.
but from $20 to 30 is 50%. That's it.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think that it's worth that you get to use the lake more than anybody else that has a boating fee?
I'm the guy that's saying, hey, I'm fine with you raising.
Well, the rest of you, I mean, what do you have in response to that? I mean, because all the county people, the local county people from Obunsee County, like Harveyville and everybody else that's considered a non-resident, that the fees are getting raised. What do you tell them when they come? What do you say to them? We get to use it more, so we deserve to have cheaper fees.
We take care of the shoreline.
Well, we also, we pay for the shoreline and the end.
Some of you do. Some of you destroy the shoreline, and some of you watch the shoreline being
There's those
destroyed.
people that do things wrong. Punish them.
See
Punish
something,
them.
say something.
We do.
That's
Oh,
not
yes,
accurate.
I have.
All right.
Quick question. If you pass this will satisfy your needs for this year? If you pass this?
If you get the greatest, best numbers you did
What
last
you-
year.
what
right?
you
So
propose.
that doesn't satisfy your
Well,
needs.
That's, okay, so that make you happy, right?
No, it wouldn't, because it's not a guarantee.
That's not what he's saying. He's saying if everything falls in order the way you've got it proposed and we break even or make $500. What's your next question if the answer is yes?
Yes.
If the answer is
Okay,
yes.
where does all the boat dock fees go that's supposed to stay at the lake? Does that help out there in anything? That you proposing is just take care of the camping and the fishing area and the boating. That's not the dock fees. Where does that?
That's something separate. That's not part of the North Shore and the camping and anything else. That's something extra. I expressed that at the last meeting that we should be setting half of that. I'm not going to say half, we should be setting a percentage of that away for dredging the lake and other projects that go around there. But we cannot be counting on something that doesn't involve the north side of camping and that business part as some of our profit.
Okay.
I mean,
So
do
what-
you guys
okay,
want
this is a
us to
completely
use your
different
dock
thing.
fees to
What do you
continue?
guys use that money for?
We're gonna let
The last 3
treasurer.
years, the city has taken 15,000 of the collected dock fees and barrack leases and set that aside in a lake reserve fund to help with LWID's road maintenance from the entrance to the East Bridge.
Okay,
So
that's
it-
the North Shore, you know.
Right, but you use that road to get to your house. I mean, that was an agreement that.
Well, I don't, I take the Old Township Road.
Debbie.
Why don't you take your,
Let's
why
not
don't
be
you take your canoe?
So, you know, years,
It is quicker.
years ago, there was an agreement with the LWID and the city
Yes.
to share the expenses of the maintenance. And so the last 3 years, 15,000 annually have been set aside out of those dock
Okay,
fees.
so where's the rest of it go?
It's still sitting in the bank.
Why don't you use
No,
that
why
to
don't
help
you use
on the
that?
boats and, and the fees for the North Shore? I mean, it's city money and it's just supposed to stay at the lake. I don't know why some of that.
I have a
goes-
feeling that a lot more of your residents at the lake would not. I have not heard anybody but you say that. I have heard more people out at the lake, and I'm talking well over 20 that
All
don't
they're
want
saying is
their
that you
dock
guys are taking
fees
it back into the
used
city and not
for the.
putting it back into
In
the lake.
fact, I might have
I agree.
emails where they
No,
just.
It's not being spent in the city.
No,
I've been fighting tooth and nail
Yeah,
because
I've
some
heard
people
that
want
for
to take it
years
and
too.
use it
That's what the,
elsewhere.
that's what the lake people are thinking. It's being spent in the city.
That's
Oh,
not happening
it
because
is
I'm trying
not.
to,
So.
I'm trying to
okay,
pinch and save
where's
every
it going?
penny
That's
because
all
we
he's
need,
asking.
we need a decent shower house. Like Debbie pointed out when she was here.
Right.
We need water at the campsites. We've got to replace one of the electrical lines that's out there that is due to be replaced. We've got a lot of expenses that we don't have money for. If you've seen our docks lately, they're in poor shape.
I think people would make a big deal out of it if they knew that everything was staying at the lake.
Well,
Because it's not going on our shores.
you see what, well, you probably don't see it yet, but we're getting ready to repair the beach.
So you
area.
just received the money for dock fees for this year. They were supposed to be paid in by
January 31st.
January something.
31st.
Okay, so all that money that you collected then off the dock fees, how much was that?
About between Barrick and dock fees, I would say 85,000, Deb, and I could get you a firm number, but right now I'm gonna say 85.
So if you take out 15,000 and put it on the road fund for that North Shore there, that still leaves another 70,000.
Yeah.
If you've got
Yeah.
85, there's 70,000. Well, where is it
And they
going?
do, I mean, I couldn't swear to the budget this year because I don't have it in front of me, but there is budgeted transfers from the lake fund to the general fund, probably in the vicinity of 10 grand, 10 to 15 grand is what they've done historically.
It is coming
See
into the
that,
city.
but that's coming into the
Yes.
city.
Yeah.
But that's,
General
but that's,
fund.
but that's
So-
paying an employee at the lake to work. That's part of their pay.
It's circled.
That doesn't even include, that wouldn't even
Okay.
cover
Now
any
we
insurance
still
I
got
stand to be
policy there
another,
for
corrected. I
employees.
stand to be
50,000
corrected.
sitting there, not
That's what I
being
thought it was
used.
worth, too. That's what I thought it was
When
worth.
they have lake time.
Yeah.
they don't have lake
And,
fund.
and if we go back for a long time paying dock fees.
And that employees
Your
of
pay
water
is
plant.
paid out of the lake fund.
No,
is what
the
you-
That
water
does
plant
not
is paid out
employ
of
the
the
water
water
plant.
plant.
That
It's
doesn't even
just-
cover an insurance policy.
Those that mow the North Shore, that comes out of the lake fund. The public officer comes out of the lake fund.
I know David and them mow around the road all the way clear up to the.
Right, just the campground area is
Justin,
where
That's
I,
not a-
Are we still paying on the bonds that we
It's not a
got
responsibility
out
for
for the spillway?
the bait house.
That was
Not
a
that I know
lot of money.
Not that I know of. Was that, it wasn't water or anything like that. I know we're still paying on the water plan, I think till what, 2027 or something like that, but
The
that's, I
spillway went out quite a ways. I just can't remember if we're still paying on it or not, but it was.
think
we had to
water's the,
redo it twice. We had to redo it the second time. The
Yeah.
first time we didn't do it right.
I think water plant's the only thing we're paying on. Don't
I'd
hold me
say
to
think
that
about
though.
raising the non-resident fee next year if you want to keep it as is right now, then raise the non-resident fee next year. It won't be as quite as much sticker shock for them. You can maybe slide under the radar, and of course, they might say, well, you're raising it for us, but not the residents next year, which.
That would encourage them to
Again,
buy a
I
house
am
up there.
about getting money in the coffers because the rainy day fund is extremely necessary. You're right. If that lake fills up with mud, it is gonna be worth squat.
To nobody.
That's right.
Including the water plant.
That's right.
Osage, Maple Hill, Mission Valley.
Richard,
Final comment. My only heartburn is the fact that as a motorized boat owner, my fee is gonna go up 75% and the kayakers are gonna go down. And I don't understand the rationale behind that.
Well, you can blame that one on me, Richard. That's me.
And the rationale, Tim, is.
Because I just don't think that you should have to pay to go out and play on a kayak.
But you should on a motorized boat.
I'm not gonna get into the reasons behind all that, but I know that there's a couple kayaks around the lake that aren't being paid for anyway. I'm trying to make that easy.
I agree with that, frankly, myself, because kayaks are so rarely seen on the water. I have 2 of them, and I try to get out there every Saturday or Sunday morning for an hour.
Before you get killed by a boat?
Yeah, well, you get out the main channel.
Are they
you play in your
registered?
cove. No, actually, I didn't know that till this year. But I have 2 that I will register this year, and I do appreciate that, and then $20. Because you just don't use them like you do other stuff.
And I have a question for an upcoming issue that hasn't hit our lake yet, but I know it has smaller lakes in other places in Kansas, is I haven't seen anybody with those low riding, very heavy wakeboard boats that do major damage to the shoreline on a small lake like Lake Wabunsee. Are we prepared for are those being on the lake and how much damage they can do to the shoreline?
We have them on the holidays.
We have some that I know.
Okay, see, I'm not out there on holidays, so.
I've got to research that. I
I would
don't know what a wake boat
Lake
is or what it
Sherwood
looks
has.
like.
I don't know what a
recommended
wake
that I
boat is.
eliminate their
I gotta
ability
look
to
it up.
Those boats with fat sacks in them, they sink their butts down in the water and gun it, and you got this tidal wave, and you're out there jumping crap.
I mean, the
It's great
waves
at
are
table
like
rock,
this
but it's not
high
made
that
for
hit
this
that
stuff.
shoreline and just
They're
eat it away.
tearing up stuff worse than anything.
And just before that
They
becomes
should
an
be
issue, I
outlawed from
feel
this
like
lake
there should be
personally.
something.
It's just too big.
Sounds like something we should prohibit on the lake.
Right, or just at least a
Well,
point
that's
of
not even-
discussion before it even starts happening.
Thanks for
Because
bringing
it's
that to our
going to
attention.
sooner than later, because they're all getting kicked off of the other smaller lakes around, so they're gonna come here looking for a lake.
What'd you
And
call them?
that, I mean,
They're
a
called wake
weekend,
boats,
wake-
WAKE
10
boats.
wakeboard boats could do some severe damage to the shoreline. That takes a lot to recover from.
Well, as you pointed out, the dock fees are precious to us. We certainly don't want to let anybody on the water that's going to damage people's docks.
Right.
So I'm going to look into this right away. And
Well, ducks are one thing, but the erosion flat out on all.
yeah, well, that's a huge problem that we have out there already as well.
You get
As
those
most
things-
people know.
I mean, they pull it up on some YouTube videos. They're cool, but they're not made for this kind of life.
Right. And I didn't realize, like I said, we park our boats on holiday weekends because we're scared, you know, and we don't want anyone hurt. So I haven't seen them on the holiday weekends like he said he has. But it's going to be an issue. And like I said, one weekend of 10 boats could do severe damage, not just to docks, but to shoreline.
I don't think any residents have wake boats, but you see them from the non-residents.
Right. Which again is a
They're
reason
easy
we
to
want to.
spot.
Are the horsepower on those boats any different than a regular boat?
They're
Just the way
fairly
it's
high
designed?
horsepower, and they're distinguishable because they've got a different prop set up, Terry, that I'm not sure just how it works, but if it's out of the water, you can say that's a wake boat.
Just like this going through the water almost, huh?
Yes.
Last year there was
But
this
the ass ends
yellow
heavy.
one
Yeah.
that
There
was
was
doing a yellow boat that was speeding around. They didn't even see it. It was
I couldn't even
specifically
see
at your cove is where I saw it the most. Ridgeways.
There's a yellow boat that's just across the cove and.
But it's not a wake
And
boat.
it's not a wake boat.
Right. That's a bad.
But one that goes super fast.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
Being on top of the water going fast, and they're called fat sacks. They literally pump water into the boat to get it
They don't ride
ballast
like
and
this,
sink.
they ride like this, but they're way down.
They
and it
sink
causes a
into
big weight. Apple hands used to have one.
Yeah, they're a terrible boat on any body of water, but this one's just.
I just would rather to see us all be proactive rather than reactive
Right.
for that issue, because like I said, we know that they've been kicked off of Lake Sherwood. So those people are all looking for somewhere to go. And not just that way, but
Picture of it
several.
is, and then I'd slow it on. I'll just don't know.
Well, we have to have some sort, you know, you
City
can't
has
get
to have a
sued
deal in
for
their-
being prejudiced,
Their
you know.
bylaws or whatever it is.
You have to have
Yeah.
some sort of
These boats
ordinance or
aren't allowed.
something in place.
You've seen cigarette boats, they have two engines and they go a million miles an hour down a runway. They're literally gigantic. You'll have to see them at Lake of the Ozarks, you'll see them at these other places. No one has put one on our water yet.
Well, it's not big enough. They wouldn't be able to crank
Before you
it.
go out to sea.
Jim,
They'd run out of
I
light.
might propose that you put wake boats on your April lake meeting, because you're not gonna see wake boats out until Memorial Day.
Right.
They're a summertime boat.
Well, don't they have the?
Will you write that down, Lisa?
Yep, I did.
No.
If you want personally
I
sued
mean,
for
if you want personally
discrimination,
sued,
you could probably go for it, but
yeah.
I wouldn't.
You and the city.
You live in the city, yeah, we don't want that to happen for anybody. I would like to see it be on the agenda as well.
Motion, Brett?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it at the April 10th meeting,
Thank you.
the wake boats. I gotta keep saying that because I might accidentally slip and call
Yeah,
them.
it's
wake.
wakeboard boats.
Yeah, we don't want any of that.
No,
I'm gonna move to approve resolution number 032723.
Something new. I still think we should just try it.
I personally don't. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna defer to Terry. I guess that there's still a motion on the floor, but
well, we have a motion to approve it. Is that the motion you're talking about?
yeah, it's on the floor. That's
Yeah.
all I'm
I'll
saying.
second.
I shouldn't start talking yet. Is what I
Yeah,
was saying.
well-
Michelle seconded.
Okay.
Michelle seconded?
Mhm.
Okay. We have a motion to approve, resolution number 032723 by Brett, seconded by Michelle. Is there any further discussion on that? Those in favor? Those opposed? It puts it on me,
Yes, it is.
and I'm also opposed. I think some of the prices are too high for the residents, whether it's me or a Lake resident.
So what do you propose, Tim? What do you want to change? You've been awfully quiet. You didn't want to raise camping fees, so now let's hear it.
I don't want to.
Didn't want the kayak fees.
I don't want to raise the camping fees, and I agree with whoever it is in the crowd that keeps saying to raise both fees, not one permanent fee. I like the idea that a non-resident fee is higher than a resident fee. I agree with you completely on the fact that the lake residents get full access to the lake and others do not. But I also agree that the higher non-resident fee, to a degree, granted a small degree, but helps limit the non-residents from bringing their boats out. I'd like to keep that.
Do you have a proposed rate for any of this?
You realize some of those non-residents are actually county residents.
just like people do.
I'll speak on that note because my brothers won't bring their boats out here because of the rates. You know, and
They
they're-
already
and they're-
do that.
What's
They
that?
are already not bringing them because of the rates, right?
Correct.
Right.
And they live 3 miles away, you know.
They're one of many people that have approached me to tell me the very same thing.
I had quite a few people that were.
And I'm just speaking on that non-resident.
Fees.
Okay, Justin,
So I,
That's for this city.
I put together something. I mean, it's just when we're sitting here talking back of the napkin crap. So I mean, it's not like it's any, you know, it's a start. So basically, I know. Sorry. So I went, you know, resident 11 to. I didn't touch the resident non-motorized, but that's. I'm also trying to eliminate the inspection fee and basically add what's there already into this. When I say the price for the non-motorized doesn't change. It, you know, for a resident, it says 20 right now. It's 30 because there's a $10 inspection fee. So didn't touch the non-motorized for resident or non-resident. Basically, I went up $12 for resident, 11 to 50 horsepower, $15 for 51 to 100, $17 for 101 to 165, and $20 for 166 plus. And those numbers, Brett had some numbers. Brett just had the resident numbers, of course, because Brett was proposing the residents went up and the non-residents stayed the same, so he didn't have a reason to have the numbers for otherwise. But those 4 line items going up generated $3,999 with that there. I realize it's only 4,000. It's not 10,000 or, well, of course, I guess some numbers came off the top because yours were going down for non-motorized. I forget what that was, but.
$1,600.
Okay, $1,600. So was it off of 10.5? So like around
10.8.
10.8. So 9,200.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And that's not include. I didn't figure up any of the camping, so there was
Okay.
increases to the electric, so that'd be addition to the 10.
Okay.
so I wanna, because you ratted those off pretty fast.
Yes.
If nobody else, if everybody kept up with that, other than me, then I'm good with that.
I didn't keep up with it.
But I'd like to, I'm looking at the 2022 rates now. Okay, which has on it, it's a yellow highlighted paper. It has on it both resident and non-resident. So I want you to go a little bit slower and tell me what you propose.
Do you want the increases of the actual?
I want what,
Give what the rate would be,
Okay.
because that's the way the
Alright.
resolution would be.
Okay.
yeah,
So resident 0 to 10 horsepower, $30.
from 20, so an increase of $10.
But we are eliminating the inspection fee with this. We're just saying the inspection fee is.
Are you eliminating the inspection fee for all boats?
Yes.
Okay,
It-
all right, so.
Everything will be rolled into the same price.
Into this
now.
bite, eliminate inspection fees, so make
So
myself a
essentially, it's
note.
no change, but yes, the line item itself will change.
Okay, so the 0 to 10 horsepower for a resident is $20.
You said it was 30.
30
I'm
with that.
to go to 30,
Yep.
and you have a non-resident that's currently 38. What's their proposed rate?
Resident would be 48, so
48.
same thing.
Okay, that's a $10 increase for them as well.
Yep.
And the next one is 11 to 50 horsepower. Currently, it's $40 for a resident.
80.
You're gonna double it to 80?
Well, it's eliminating the $28 inspection.
Okay.
Those are more.
I forgot. I'm sorry. You're right.
So it's
Okay.
going up $12.
All right. Gotcha. And the non-resident, same category.
That would be 101.
And let's go to resident 11 to 50.
51 to 100.
I'm sorry, what did I say? 11 to 50?
Yeah.
51 to 100.
98.
Non-resident, same one.
129.
Resident 101 to 165. Am I in the right spot? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
115.
And non-resident, same number.
168.
Resident 165 plus.
128.
And non-resident 165 plus.
208.
Okay.
And those went up too. I know I only gave the The increase is for the residents.
But you've incorporated the inspection fee in that fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the inspection fee is $28 per vessel, whether it's 10 horsepower, clear up to 166 and over.
Yeah.
Which generates over $10,000 for us.
Yeah. Okay,
So
what
if we
about
take away the inspection fee?
But he's incorporated it into the
into the
total.
price? Into the total
He's
price.
already calculated it into the total.
But it doesn't stop the fact that they have to have the boat sprayed as it currently stands, right?
Yeah, it's just it included.
And I'm gonna tell everybody now, it's my intention to get with KDH or
KDWP.
yeah. Say that again, KW?
KDWP.
Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. And I want to verify what the proper solution is for aquatic nuisances. We know it's worthless for zebra mussels. We know that. There's only one way to get rid of them, and we're not going to do that.
A few years ago, they said that pressurized warm water, I thought, was the new recommendation.
That's all just pressurized warm water.
Yeah, and of course, that's
Well,
after the
certain
fact.
degree. Was it 160 degree?
Oh, was that?
Well, there was
Yeah,
a temperature.
It was hot, but
Okay,
yeah,
you have
I didn't remember it being that hot.
Well,
That doesn't
maybe
mean that's
not.
what it meant.
It's been too many years ago.
All right.
What if
Justin,
when you're spraying the boat, you're wearing a mask? Does it help?
the boat owner. So what do you have for a proposal for a 1 day, regardless of
Oh,
size?
yeah, and I'm sorry. I would propose doubling those and then adding the inspection fee to it.
I'm sorry, doubling which?
Doubling
The
the
1 day,
the 1 day and 5 day boats,
doubling the current prices
because
now,
that would
right?
make that less enticing. It's kind of a price break, so that would. So I would well, yeah, doubling, and then by the time you add in the inspection fee, and these again,
Does a lot
inspection
to
fee
the
included.
percentage of your nuisances, like nuisances. I would
Yeah.
And then the last two items are inspection fees, so those are zero.
Yeah. So the 1 day boat would be 68.
It'd be 40, wouldn't it? You said double it.
Plus the
And then add
inspection.
the $28 inspection fee in.
So double the fee,
Well,
and then add
just
the
I
fee
have a
that would
question.
be.
So
Because
then
I
make it
think
68.
The
Yes.
1 and 5 day fees,
That would encourage people to go
because
ahead and
you
buy
could
them.
buy a
anyway.
1 day or 5 day state license,
non-resident
fishing
annual.
license, and I
Yeah.
think that's when the council decided to do a 1 and 5 day.
Oh, we'll still have them. It'll just be
Okay.
less enticing than it was before.
Okay.
I guess. So.
Okay, well, let me just point something out here, if I'm reading this right. A 1 day boat you're proposing is $68.
Yes.
And a non-resident,
No, that's just.
I-
There's no differentiation
I
for.
want to know, what's the price for a non-resident boat for a year?
That's it.
The 1 day boat, regardless of size, is, you're proposing it go to $68. And I
Well,
look at a non-resident, 0 to 10 horsepower for an annual for $48.
Yeah, that's the way it was before. Actually, it was
So
more
somebody's
cost
gonna-
effective.
I'm just gonna say,
for,
if I'm looking at that,
yeah.
I'd say it's pretty damn stupid for me to pay $68
Oh, yeah.
for a 1 day license when I can get a year one for 48.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
I don't.
You can put right up here, here's what they pay.
Yeah.
And if they.
You say they want that
all I
one,
want
then-
is 1 day.
Yeah.
If they ain't smart enough to look up there and see,
Let's say they're out of state.
that's their.
True.
And they
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
That's the way I-
How much was the 5 day?
You ain't got no
5 day,
way.
1 way.
No way to be done.
permits were put in is because we also have the 1 to 5 day fishing. was out of state.
Well, are you
So
gonna
what was the 5 day
or a
Okay,
motion?
so,
I don't know.
all right, this,
What was your 5 day?
Get off.
A 5 day
Huh?
boat would be 108. Yeah.
It's not enough
5
money.
day, change that to 108.
Yeah.
That's more than
And I
what you
don't know how
proposed.
much these would go up or what the numbers were for non-residents. Of course, if it was said that 3/4
You
of
have
it
to
was
remember that
residents, then
inspection fee was still on Brett's, Michelle.
Okay.
And now we're eliminating that,
Eliminating what?
the inspection fee. We're incorporating it into the price of the boat. We're not showing it separate.
Which is what so many residents out there have begged me to.
And I agree with
They
that.
also
I
beg
agree
you to
with that.
seal off the lake on holidays and not let anybody in.
Yes, yeah, all right.
Which is exactly kind of what you're leaning towards
Now,
doing.
Let me let Julie ask the question and then
I just was gonna say, I like your audience.
thanks.
I like it better than the other one myself. But, okay, so now what I'm gonna say is, do you have any proposals for camping and fishing, Justin? From the 2022 fees?
I haven't done anything on there.
Okay,
I'm just doing that this
I'm
week.
gonna say it's Brett's.
okay. As far as dock and structure fees, I don't have a problem with the way they are. Same way with the leases that we have down there at the bottom of that page for 2022 to be the same. But I do think we need to raise something to help cover the cost of improving our electricity at the camping sites. I would personally like to see 50 amps all the way around, not just 50 amp in certain areas and 30s in the others. And I think we can do that. I think we should do that. It eliminates a lot of headache from these people that come out here after all the 50 amps are reserved and they complaining like crazy because we don't have a spot for them. We have a spot, but it's not powerful enough to cover them.
Most public campgrounds don't have 50 amp.
They got a special area on some of them that have 50 amp, and then other areas are just 30s.
Well, there weren't any spots left, period.
There's a lot of campgrounds right now changing out too. Yeah.
What are they changing out to?
They're going up to 50
They're all
amp
going to
spots.
50.
I'm not saying across the board, but they are the certain areas. They've asked. Yeah.
Campers are getting bigger.
Well, I'm just thinking.
They want to charge their car.
I'm just thinking that a lot of our 30 amp spots out there are deteriorating and they need to be replaced. And if we're going to replace them, we might as well upgrade them at the same time.
How many electrical hookups do you have?
Oh, maybe what?
14.
I started to say 12. I started to say 12. She says 14. He has
We've got
16.
10 on the ridge. Those are the primos, and then the. Do we have 4 more or is it 6 more? I thought it was 6, but I don't. 5
Judy,
and a
how
half.
many spots
One
did
is
you
a
rent out
110
electric
site.
last year?
Oh, okay.
There is 10 on the ridge, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 16.
Okay, so are the 6 30 amps and the 10s 50?
Correct.
Yeah,
One
okay.
of the 6 is only just
Yeah,
a
plug
110
in,
site.
house plug in.
The 110 site?
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely need to improve
Wasn't
that one.
intended to be a site.
Yeah, that's the
There's
main.
just an outlet there, so
Yeah.
we decided, okay, if somebody wants to put up with that issue, then let them.
That's the main panel where everything feeds out of that to catch all the other.
Yeah, I found that out last year by mistake.
When people flip the switch,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe you kill that one down there.
Well,
If I can make a statement, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm personally just throwing this out there. When we talk about the whole permits for the lake and all this stuff, I don't understand why there's only 13,000 people live in this entire county, something like that. Why don't we make the entire county a resident? You could add an addendum to this is what qualifies as a lake resident. Then the people in Harveyville and Alma get to pay lake resident fee prices, and the people from Wamego and Topeka and Emporia and Manhattan get to pay out of county fees.
Maple Hill.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm
I-
going to tell you, with the non-resident raising fees, you're gonna drop in people considerably this year. It is,
Just
but
because
it's
it's
gonna
crossed.
work towards what Tim wanted to propose, which is sealing the lake off to only people that live around the lake on holidays and catering to what they need and want.
Because
It's not a
you
very
cross the
big
red
lake.
line or whatever
Yeah.
line in the sand.
I mean, I know multiple people that I could probably call right now and get a no, I'm not gonna come there this year. It's
Yeah.
over $200. Get out of here. Same way with
Yeah.
Alma. I could call 10 family members in Alma right now that will say that they're not going to come here for over $200. But I guess that gets
I wouldn't say you're wrong,
this group
really.
what they
but
want.
But there's only one boat fee on here that's over $200.
Yeah.
That's the 166
But as
plus.
soon as I start making them have to come up with their LWID bill to make sure that they're a resident out there, and then when they have to pay that non-resident fee, they're gonna be some.
What's the other one? What's the one on
They're gonna be grumpy.
165?
168. Run a business.
Resident.
Yeah,
Resident 115.
But see, it's the way that we run a business, but you didn't like it when it was flipped before. That wasn't what you were saying then. It's the way you run a business.
Because you
Now
don't
it's
look
getting
at
more of a-
anything that we do out there at the lake to beautify your beautiful lake. It didn't just build, it just didn't grow that way. We made it that way. And nobody, and you, Brett, don't want to give us any credit for nothing.
That's not true.
You're not the ones we're complaining about. You guys are the good guys. Your place looks straight. I've never seen even a blade of grass out of place in your yard.
Julie.
Yes, this is totally off the subject, but I have a question about the area I call the Stonehenge. It's the old workshop structure of concrete and whatnot. I haven't been up to that area for a long time. Is there a solid concrete flooring for that?
Yes. It is, but it's
Because
kind of
talking
crumbled.
about
Cracked
making
and unlevel.
money, additional money to help improve the North Shore and all of that. Is it possible to get like a band out there, charge a fee for people to come? We used to have dances out there all the time when I was in my young 20s. It was a blast, and people came not just from this county, from all over the place. We charged, if you charged a fee to do a dance there or something, maybe sold snacks or alcohol or whatever. I feel like, but I don't know if that structure has a concrete base in
I
it.
think I could be wrong, and I want people to correct me. But I think that's part of the lease for the people that
It is
are
not.
running. It is
Well,
not.
the structure she's talking about, but there's no power over there.
Yeah.
It's when it's still got the cement pillars over.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there's no power over
Right.
there.
I was thinking about that pad that's on
Yeah.
directly behind it.
Yeah.
It's straight south of it.
It's on
Straight south of Wild Olives, there's a pad there.
Yeah.
That's theirs, isn't it? The
Yeah,
lease?
it's pretty
It's theirs.
low.
So the Stonehenge area by itself is not.
Yeah, but in the future, something to think about, because if you filled in with some concrete and maybe get somebody like Goldie or someone to discount that heavily, I don't know. But I'm just saying, just looking towards the future for more money making
Sure,
type.
sure. So can I count on you being on a committee?
No.
There you go. So
There you
that's
go.
exactly
I
what I'm
haven't
talking
talked
about.
Yeah. No, it's just things that I've been thinking about, and I drive by that all the time and think, man, that was so much fun. We'd have, I don't know how many people are local or whatever and grew up around here. but
My dad had the buffalo feeds
Your
in
dad
the
had
county
the
at that
buffalo
very
feeds,
spot. so-
Exactly. And there were literally hundreds of people. The Buffalo Inn would draw. It would be,
Isn't
you'd be
that
going through
structure,
like this.
isn't that structure at some point gonna be a liability? That's why I want you all to save some money, because at some point, that's gonna need to be torn down, at least partially torn down and probably covered up.
Right. Or can you fix it? Can you fix it and do something with it?
Not
Because it's
necessarily
a
makes
cool
more sense to
thing.
cover it up
It's a
and
cool
create a new pad type of deal.
Richard, do you have a comment?
history of
Do
the
you
lake.
want me to include in my notes that Lake residents will be required to produce their LWID bill in order to qualify for resident pricing?
I think it's a good idea, but the council hasn't.
We haven't
agreed to that.
finalized that.
Right.
Okay.
I don't want you to put anything in there
Sorry to
yet
change
until they
the subject,
agree.
but
No,
just
that's fine. I
trying to get out
appreciate
of
the
it.
idea.
I also want to say too that I also changed the $25 late fee for removal of vessels and moved it to $50. So if you don't get your boat off at the time that you're allotted to, it's now $50. It would be $50 to remove it, simply because people are off and not working. And I know for a fact Julie, not working, is getting called at 8 a.m. to come out on a whim for whoever decided they didn't want to get their boat off. I know Terry has gone out on his personal days to do the same thing. They never give 24 hours notice. It's always the day of, and it's a hassle for people, a big hassle for people. So
No objection.
Nope. I have no problem with it. And that's a $50 fee if they make somebody else come out on non-working hours. Right?
correct.
That makes sense.
After.
On special occasion.
But what was the grand total for the intake from this?
So it was 4,000, and that was only the resident one, just because you didn't have the numbers for the non-resident, which I understand why, but yeah. So non-resident would generate something, I don't know what. And it could possibly drop because it could cross somebody's line and they say, I'm not paying that, where they put up before. But I mean, the most that went up was $25 for the 166 plus horsepower for non-residents. So
I want to make everybody in the county a resident. I like the idea. It's Wabunsee County, and they're Wabunsee County.
Wabunsee Lake. Yeah, I mean it's got appeal to it. For
Yeah,
that
that would
reason.
help, like, when they thought they were non-residents, that they're paying that higher price. Now they're paying the same price as what a residence is, and I bet you get a lot more.
Yeah.
We hope you
Well,
And they're
do you
gonna
not think that
care
will
about the
overcrowd the
beauty of
lake?
The lake as well as
a lot
we
more
all
than
do.
someone from Manhattan.
Right.
Do you think that will overcrowd the lake if we make county residents?
Get out to Vista.
Only on the holidays, but it's crowded anyway, so
Maybe if it's so crowded, they wouldn't be zigzagging in and out of the boat traffic and everything else, and the jet skis
Go to the
running into
big
everybody.
lakes.
No, they'll still
They'll still
that.
do that, won't they?
Oh, yeah. We don't get unload hardly on weekends very often.
And if you made county residents, if you made all the county residents, if now we're excluding everybody outside the county as a non-resident, we're saying everybody outside the county is a non-resident. So what is the rate proposal for county residents if we change it to countywide? As opposed to, and then what would the rate be for those that live outside the county? You understand my question?
We don't have the answers to that. Here's the thing is we left last meeting and we were supposed to give proposals, and now we're just flying by the seat of our pants here in this meeting, and you're letting it happen.
I'm letting it happen, Brett, because I don't agree with your proposal. That's why I voted against it. And now, and I'm also saying you don't have to make a resolution tonight. We're not required to make one before
How
April 1st.
stupid is it to not make a
How
decision?
stupid is it to wait
when you
until the
open on
last minute?
weekend?
How stupid
We
is
didn't.
it? We did. Because
Where are
now,
your proposals in the last half a month?
my proposals don't stand a chance against the county, against the council members. It's you guys that voted. My proposal only comes in after I vote against it. And I like what Justin has proposed. We asked him what his thought was. We asked Justin what his was. And then my opinion was I like Justin's. I don't like yours. I think it's too unfair for the people that live at the lake right now.
And you're
So now-
entitled to that opinion.
Thank you very much for acknowledging that. Now, we also acknowledge that we do not have to have a resolution made tonight.
No,
Why not?
because Lisa said that I had to have a resolution so that it could be passed at the meeting before this. So if
Makes
I'm
sense.
wrong, then Lisa's wrong.
Then Lisa's wrong as well. Lisa's making the proposal that if you want to, told you that if you want a proposal made tonight, you had to present it as a resolution. If we liked it, we could pass it.
I need flyers for out there at the lake.
You what?
So
Yes, I know you do. I know you do. So what I'm saying is if we do not pass a resolution tonight, then what's your flyer gonna say?
It would have the 22.
It has the 2022 numbers on it with the exception of the hours of the bait house.
Yep.
That's the only thing that would
So
change.
These numbers are
Addicted.
changed at any point.
how ridiculous is that?
you can't do that.
I mean,
I don't think it's wise to change fees in the middle of the season.
no.
So, well, then that means you don't change them till next year. Maybe we'll get on it before next year. Maybe
We
we'll
were on it, Mr.
Brett,
Mayor.
Mr. Councilman, you were on it.
No,
Nobody else was on board of that, or we
At
would have
that
had
work
this settled
session, Mary
before
Jane
tonight.
brought-
No, if they're on board to make a decision, where was Tim's? Where was this before this meeting tonight? Where was anybody's?
Because-
Nobody took the time and a
Thank you.
half a month to
Isn't-
get information.
Isn't that exactly what I'm saying? The council did not act on it in a timely fashion. That's exactly what I'm saying.
When we knew that there was a deadline.
So therefore, we did not act on it in a timely fashion.
You did not.
I did not
I
act
did.
on it. You did. You're the only one. You just sat there and said that Tim didn't do it and nobody else offered any proposals. So don't sit there and blame it on anybody. I'm blaming it on us as a whole.
And my opinion is, it's not on me, it's on you.
It's on me. And I'm saying, I'm just saying, if you guys don't come to an agreement on what you want to raise it to tonight, then this resolution is not going to fly the way you proposed it. And then we will end up doing what we did in 2022. And then maybe, just maybe, the council will act long before the beginning of the year next year to get some changes made. Because when did we start on this? When did we start on it? January, February? When did we start?
When we had that
We've
work
been,
session.
when we had that first work session, and then we had a second work
I think the
session.
work session was in January.
We didn't have a work session last fall.
raising the
They
bait
sure
house
all
fees?
talked about raising, it was the fees and their docks and the removal of the second dock. Yeah, we did all of that for 2 hours.
And you
And
guys
we did it
voted not,
twice.
and you guys voted not to take any action that night. That was in October. When the Lake residents came out to the city at the Senior Citizen Center.
What you have, please.
What?
Can you propose what you have?
It was kind of over, that meeting was supposed to be for like what you're talking about, raising the fees.
And it got carried away.
It got kind of overtaken by,
Yes, yes, it did. And nothing got done about it. Nothing got done.
We didn't have a
I
chance
guess
to
I'll-
finish
Right.
working on it.
I guess I'll propose what I've said before, and I can turn this paper in, or I can go ahead and recite everything again. I really don't want to, but I'll propose that
I want
schedule
to
and then-
know. I want to know. Is just the only thing you're proposing is what you talked about, the boating?
So far, I mean.
Okay, then I want to know what all of it is, not just what we're doing for the boating. Just do it all and then make the proposal that covers all of it.
Well, all right.
All right, well, what do you want to do, Brett? You want to do one thing or do you want to do it all? Or do you want to do nothing?
I want you to conduct the meeting. We
That's
still have
exactly what I'm
employee
trying to
handbook
do.
in
That's
an hour.
exact, and I don't need
It's
your
10.
antics. I don't need your antics. Oh my God, we got to do this. We don't need that.
He's been through it once. Did you not
He
write
has
it down and
not.
listen
He
the
has
first
not.
time?
He has not been through it all. I asked about camping and fishing. What does he propose to change on that? I have not got an answer from that yet.
Now, so far, it's no change.
No changes. Now I have an answer on that. Are you wanting to change anything on the electrical boxes?
No.
Okay,
That's
there you go. There you go.
I guess I'm not making that a part of this proposal, but I would say what I said before. I can repeat that for the record if you would like. I would also propose the following things: $50 fee for opening the gates in the off season, where it was previously $25. 4-day minimum for stays involving Memorial Day, Independence Day, or Labor Day, and that's pending Astra if the program will let us do that. I propose $10 to rent or reserve the shelter house for 4 hours during non-holiday weekends. Of course, if you show up and see that it's free, you're free to use it, but if someone has rented it, they can kick that person out. I would say that price raises to $20 to rent or reserve a shelter house for 4 hours during holiday weekends.
Okay.
And that would be the extent of it, I guess.
Did you get all that, Lisa?
I tried, but I'm gonna ask Justin to email that to me so
Okay.
I can get the resolution properly worded.
Well, as much as I hate to do this, can the same person rent the shelter house for this block, this block, this block, this block?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
24 hours.
I
Yeah,
personally don't think you should be renting out the shelter houses. It should be first come, first served, whoever's there. I mean, I know that would
Yeah.
generate a little bit of money.
But Julie, my problem is if I camp out there and I'm on the lower level, I really want to use that shelter house. But the person camped beside it has moved in and they're not moving out until Sunday night.
Yeah. Well, and this would be where people could still use it. You know, it's $10 to rent or reserve it, for 4 hours during the non-holiday weekends. If there's nobody out there and you want to use it, sure, use it. But if someone has paid the money, then at that point they have the power to boot them out. I guess that was all I'm saying.
Oh, you just make a rule that people.
It's public use otherwise.
Who enforces booting them out?
Well, yeah, okay, so yeah.
Well, they're trespassing. Just like somebody putting their boat on.
Well, I
it's
mean,
not permitted.
yeah, so
we
it's-
can't enforce people that don't have their dogs on a leash. We're not going to be able to enforce kicking somebody out.
You
of it.
can. Choose
Yeah.
not to, but you can't.
Yeah, everything sounds better when it's
Press, put a sign on them.
yeah.
That if it's reserved, you have to leave.
Yeah.
If the person come up and shows you're reserved with his paper, then they have to leave.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
But then if they don't leave, how do we get them to leave?
Call the law because they're trespassing.
That is
There's-
true.
On holiday weekends, there's a lot of law enforcement out there.
You bet. Call Ralph. He'll go over there and
Including
kick their
wildlife.
ass.
Ralph.
You can understand.
I think if there's clear signage, it'd be easy. It wouldn't be expensive signage either.
I'm sorry I asked. I said it before I
Thank you.
asked.
I move to approve Justin's resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay. Justin, you have a concern?
I just want something increased so we have money in revenue. And if we get stuck in the
I know
negative,
I'm not part of that conversation.
I'm happy it's.
what does anybody have to say then?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I
No,
guess.
what about Brett's thing about opening up residency to the county?
Oh,
I mean, is that included or not? I just,
Not if you want my vote.
I want it to be included. Including it
To me.
includes all of our county people. It includes all of our people that go to Mission Valley, all of the people that have spent up their life in Harveyville growing up at the lake. It includes them as well. It includes all the residents of Alma that come down.
Out to this.
How many boats do we have that register out there that are from out of county?
I wouldn't have a clue. I know of
They
one
don't already
because
have an association with the lake. I don't know.
I know of one because he called me, wanted to get on the lake before the season opened.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, there you go.
I just wasn't sure if Brett's motion included.
I was gonna say that.
that.
It does.
We can.
Okay.
That may affect your second though, so we need to make sure that she's okay with
Yeah,
it.
because we already have a motion on the floor.
Is she seconded my motion?
I don't agree with that part of it.
So you're withdrawing your second?
Yes.
You want to re-propose your motion to include the county and see if we get a second? And if we do, we vote on it. If we don't,
Didn't he already do that? Am I?
But Michelle just withdrew her second.
Okay.
It is so hard to know the consequences of that monetarily, and if we're fixing something only to break it on the other end.
Look at that next year.
Yeah, I know.
Calendar year thereof.
Then we'll be behind the 8 ball one more year, but I don't know.
Take it
But
away.
I kind of like the idea. Don't get me wrong, but so
And I think you get opinions of people in the city and at the lake and work on it for next year.
we could always keep a
And-
better record of
and-
who's a non-resident that's registering a boat too, so we'll know if they're county or not.
Right.
We should be able to get all that information.
We should
from
be
Astra.
able to.
I'm gonna go
We
ahead and
should be able
second
to.
Brett's
And
motion.
think about
Okay.
the consequences of
So Justin
either
seconded.
or.
Just so I understand, your motion now includes county residents, right?
As
My second
residents.
includes
As
that.
residents, okay. So the vote is, or not the vote. The motion is to include all of Wabunsee County, to consider all of Wabunsee County residents as residents.
Citizens as residents.
What's that?
Consider all of Bunty County citizens
As
as residents.
residents.
You
Yeah,
have
I-
time if you feel uncomfortable.
I said I second it. I would think that maybe there's like a tier you could insert in the middle, but God, I don't want to make this so convoluted that
Yeah.
nobody can understand it. But I mean, have a city/lake resident, a county resident that gets a little bit of a break from somebody that's a non-resident entirely. But I'm going to go ahead and second what's
Okay.
the way it's been presented.
Okay, the motion for Brett, as stated, seconded by Justin. Any further discussion on that?
I wish that we would wait until we have data before we include the whole county as residents. We're doing it blind. You brought all the information before. You didn't have these numbers though.
Yeah.
There were very few.
It wasn't part of his proposal. I can't really blame him. But
There were very few residents of Bunty County that got charged the non-resident fees.
And it
I'm
might be
gonna say
because
there
the
was
price is too high for the
10
non-resident
or
fee for them to
15
pay as well. And we might increase traffic if they're considered residents. Which
Because it's close.
would in the long run provide more money for this lake. Yeah. If it didn't work,
Your city either.
if this doesn't work, then we start on this in November and we revamp it at that time. Or you don't start on it in November and let the new council take it over in January and figure it out.
That's kind of close.
Hey, the first year I was mayor, we didn't do anything until late March, early April, and we were desperate and we had to do something. So I'm trying to avoid that.
I brought this up like 5 times.
All right, so any further discussion on the motion? Okay, those in favor of the motion. Those opposed? I'll break the tie and I'm in favor of it.
I would like to throw out there that when we make the pamphlet, I want it to be enforced that no camper may stay in the same site for more than 14 days, just like all the other campsites. If we make a certain deal where somebody gets to stay in an extended camping period, they have to move their camper after 14 days.
Even when it's like toward the end of the season.
Unless
If
permission
nobody
granted
else,
by the
yeah,
council.
yeah.
Is that-
Right, like
Unless
I had
permission
somebody out there in
granted.
October.
But just put the rule in there that they have to move it after 14 days, and if you're getting at the end of the season, nobody else is camping, you see it's not a problem, it's not a problem.
At least I don't need it.
But during the main part of the season, I don't want that same camper in that same site.
Well,
But
this is an
everybody else
afterthought, but
wants.
can I title that as the resolution as proposed by Justin 03/27/23? I know
Sure.
that's,
Call whatever.
okay,
Well, that's what it would be.
yes. I mean, a resolution is a fancy motion. So just FYI. Okay,
Now, do you guys want to review it before I sign it after she prepares it?
I can email it to make sure I get it right, but if Justin will email it to me as well, that way.
Okay, let's get that reviewed. Let's get that reviewed no later than Wednesday, and I will sign it on Thursday, and then we can get this.
Thanks for coming in, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, next thing up is the city clerk position.
Well done, council.
Thank you.
Now, we have three applications for the city clerk's position. It was supposed to run in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks. It did not. It only ran one. Even though I was told it was paid to run for 2, it wasn't run for 2, it was only run for 1. My thought on that is, do you want to, I understand that one of the people that applied has gotten a full-time job. I haven't talked to any of these people because I think you guys were wanting to be a part of reviewing the clerk position applications, and part of the interview, we decided to go with any one of those. Since that job went out, I proposed changing it to a part-time position, 20 hours a week. And then somebody else would more than likely be Lisa as the assistant city clerk, would do her job as the treasurer and fill in for the city clerk for the rest of the hours. That would save us roughly $13,000 a year on benefits. And I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on that, or do you want to run with a full-time employee?
We have an applicant that's interested in part-time.
We haven't advertised for one.
I don't think you'll get anybody of quality to commit to the city on a part-time position.
Quality?
No. It's not going to leave in 2 or 3 years because it's their part-time job and there's nothing here to ground them to keep them in the position.
Well, the part-time position, the way I see it, would benefit someone who has a child that is not in school, or one that is in preschool and only goes to school for a half a day. So depending on what time that child goes to school, then this person, if the child went into morning preschool, then they could work the morning shift till noon, and they'd be out for their afternoon for their own child. The same is true if their child went to school in the afternoon. They could come in and work the afternoon shift. That's one of the thoughts I have on that. But we won't know if we don't advertise it.
Could you run it again and just
Get feelers
somehow,
out there.
somehow word it that, you know, full-time equivalency to be determined, or?
Jared, you run three businesses. You've got a water plant business, you've got a gas plant business, plus there's sewer and the city. You
We
need
can
a
ask that,
full-time
Michelle.
person.
Oh, yes.
You really think we need a full-time
Yes,
person?
sir.
No.
The
I-
quality of
and-
good full-time
But
person.
we will have people working 40 hours in the city clerk's job in that position. It's just one of them would be part-time. Would they both be part-time, actually?
Yeah, but then you talk to one, and then you come in and talk to the other one, and they don't know what the other one told you, or they don't know, you know, what.
And,
the
and they're
other
not,
one
they're
knows.
not gonna know that now. It's gonna take them several months,
Well,
even if they
it'll
were a
take 'em
full-time
while, But
person.
eventually, they're gonna be as smart as Lisa.
Michelle?
I have, the one concern I have is that it's bound to happen. They're going to drop the ball on information that is imperative to be passed on to the next person, and the continuity of information is my concern.
I see both sides of it. I really do. And just researching through in Wabunsee County, this with the exception of Alma, they're the only ones that have full-time clerks. The rest of them are all part-time.
But
Who'd
they
you
don't
say?
have a water plant, they don't have a
What,
gas.
Brett?
You said Alma and who?
This place, this position.
And because,
And Dolly's right. I mean, you know, the gas feeds, you know, we're KCC jurisdictional. We've got that weird thing where the city of Eskridge is further out than the 3 miles. I mean, because we've got such an extensive gas system. And I mean, we've got, you
so
know,
what kind of work,
wholesale.
what kind of work does the city clerk do for the gas? It's different than any other
rates,
duty that.
char-
that the city-
well, charging, I don't know, interfacing with
Invested.
KMGA.
Yes, vested.
And the same with the water plant, and then the same with
I'm not understanding.
the other one.
Yeah, I mean, you're still billing, I guess, you know, I guess wholesale accounts are pretty easy. Rural Water District #1, they get a bill every month, just like a customer. So
Yeah.
there's probably not a whole lot of extra work that goes into that, but still, I'm just saying that what we manage is more than just the city proper.
Well, and just here's the flip side of that. You know, Stephanie worked 40 hours a week for 5 years.
Yeah.
But if I worked 20 hours a week and another person worked 20 hours a week, you'd still have that 40 hours covered. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just another angle to look at it.
Yeah.
Then, and like I said, immediately the city saves around 13, almost 14,000 a year just on benefits alone, just on that one employee. And,
Well,
and,
not
and,
really,
and then,
because we had 2 employees at that and a third one that was considerable. That third one just went up to that threshold of the thing. So we're still going to be paying 3 full-time insurances like we were paying last year.
but we're not paying.
We
for-
just won't be, but
We're
we
not-
weren't paying for. We
But
were
if we
paying
hire a full-time,
considerably less for that 4th person.
but if you hire a full-time employee, you're going to be paying benefits for 4 full-time employees. So you can't say that we're not going to go up in price. We're going to go up in price.
But you said it would be considerably more than the prior year. That's what I was
Okay,
correcting,
all right,
because
then
that's not right.
That might be, you are correct. We had 3 full-time employees at almost at around 12.5, and insurance, for example, went up
Went up
nearly
23%.
Yes, and 23%, and then a 4th person went from basically a half insurance to a full family type insurance, and that gave that person roughly a $9,000 benefit raise. So the point is, if you hire a 4th person right now for full time, our increase in benefits will be around 13,500 more than what we would be paying if they were a part-time person. So I don't have a problem paying a full-time person. I want to know where the money is going to come from. Where are we going to generate money to pay this employee? And then it's not only this year, but next year, and you get pay raises and then increases again every year on that sort of thing. It never ends. And like I said earlier tonight, talking about the lake not having any updates as the lake progressed from the time of its birth until now, and we're trying to play catch up. When's the last time gas rates went up?
How many?
Not counting, just a minute, Dolly. I'm talking at the moment. You don't have the floor. I don't care what you call me. You don't have the floor. You want an opportunity to speak, I'll give you one. But right now, you don't have the floor.
It's 20 after 10. Terry.
Well, what do you want to do? You want to stay here till midnight? You want to stay here till midnight? Because I don't. So let me talk. My point is, we haven't raised gas prices to the community in roughly 10 years. And I'm not counting the increase for the gas recovery rate. I'm talking about the regular rate. But yet every year, increases have occurred within the city. Expenses have incurred, and we've done nothing. We haven't even increased the population of this town to help the tax base increase the revenue for the city. We've done nothing. I'm including myself in that group because I'm in this position right now. When's the last time water rates went up?
A few years ago. That's been more recent.
And how many years passed before that went up? You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
You guys are getting increases on everything we do year after year after year, and you're not doing anything to recover that. It's the same thing that's happening out at the lake. So I'm not opposed to a 40-hour a week employee. My opposition is, where are we getting the money? And I don't care. Come up with the answer for that and we'll go for it. Do you want to be the responsible council that raises the taxes on the community in here to cover that? Do you guys want to raise taxes, whether it be property taxes or sales tax? Do you want a sales tax increase at your grocery store? I don't think so.
No, especially where people like, quite a few people in this town don't shop in these businesses around here.
Maybe they can't afford it, Dolly. You ever think about that? Huh?
Or they've been run off.
Or they've been run off. Yeah, who knows? Who knows the reason why people don't shop around here? Only the owners would know that. They should know it. So what's your proposal, Dolly? I'll give you the floor to raise money.
I was on the council that raised water from $2, no, it was sewer. It was sewer from $2, and we raised it so that we could have a maintenance of our sewer line. So I know how to raise rates.
So what's your, my proposal is, my question is, what is your proposal? My question is, what is your proposal to pay for a full-time employee?
What is my proposal? If
Yes.
you need higher rate, if you need more rates, then you raise them. If you need more money, then you raise them on our water and our gas, and you spread it out.
Are we restricted to raising gas rates according to
And you get
KCC?
rid of
Yes.
part-time people.
So we have to get permission from KCC to raise go through a rate case
For
again.
anything that's outside that 3-mile radius.
Yeah.
So. But we could raise it by, I don't know, resolution or ordinance. We could raise rates in the city right now.
Where's that gas
Yeah.
recovery rate supposed to drop off?
10
I guess
years
back
from
to the
whenever it
at
started.
hand,
So,
do we run an ad in the paper for 2 weeks? Do we kind of leave it vague as far as whether it's full-time or part-time, just to see if we can generate some more
Part-time
interest?
/ full-time.
Yeah.
What's
And then
Chris?
Discuss whoever calls, you discuss it with them.
Yeah.
And what about any of the online job seekers? You know, Monster.
No, okay.
When
Mike,
somebody-
I don't see this being a work from home job.
I don't need it. I don't either.
But those, I get emails all the time about.
Yeah.
Those
So-and-so's
sites
hiring.
to hire.
Yeah.
Those are
That hire
pricey,
for
I've
people.
heard. I don't know that firsthand. I've just heard that.
We need Indeed.
Indeed.
Thank you. Do.
Can we run it for 2 weeks and see if we generate some more? I mean, then you can address it at the April 10th.
The first problem is we did not run an ad for 2 consecutive weeks like it was supposed to have been done. That is a concern of mine.
I can tell you, again, I'm the president of the Canterbury Baseball League, and we at times run ads at Facebook. They're very reasonable and they're very pointed. So that might be something that you look at, and we get a lot of response. Of course, you know, we're in Topeka and we have a very captive audience of we're really, at that point, we're looking at 7-year-old and under baseball and softball players, but that might be
I
something.
mean, we
that you
could
at least look
maybe,
at.
I don't, with the residency requirement, I don't know if it does any good to run it like in the Osage County newspaper or.
There's no residency required, well.
Really?
There should be.
There should be. I agree with that.
Why would we
Should
pay
be.
somebody $50,000 that doesn't?
I don't want to limit our pool of candidates.
Well, but
I mean-
there is a resident, I mean, you have to live within 7 miles for the clerk.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
For the what?
For the clerk, to be appointed the
Oh,
clerk
okay.
or the treasurer, you have to be within 7 miles of the city limits.
Okay.
I mean, that's a charter ordinance that was passed when Joe Elliott was here. Your
Yeah.
state statute says they have to reside within city limits.
Okay.
And they chartered out of that when Joe Elliott was the city clerk. So that, because he resided at the lake. So,
Yeah.
yes, there is a residency requirement.
So you're looking at a population that has to live within 7 miles of this city?
That really
Of
limits.
course, if you pay them 50 grand, that's a pretty good amount of money.
There you go.
Yeah. That's big if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they get close to that with what they get salary plus benefits plus retirement. That's pretty. I mean, we
Sir.
almost do $250,000 in employee salaries a year. So
I can tell you that one of them is near 60,000 a year. Another one's just shortly behind it, and another one's shortly behind that. The clerk full-time position is
yeah. So
the
what it
lowest
costs us
with
is about
benefits of all of them.
$60,000 to $50,000 for the employees.
I think you were correct when you said around $250,000 a
Yeah.
year.
I mean,
How much money
15,000
do
a
we
month
make in our
at
business?
least.
I suggest that we run the ad again and discuss this at the next meeting.
How do you want it, how do you want it to read? Full-time / part-time like Chuck or Charles? What
Mr.
would
Walker, Chris.
Chris? I had a C right. A CH.
It's good.
Chris.
I mean, both work.
Do you just put slash or do you put and or?
I put slash.
Do you guys really not know him? Like he's the Brothers Blues guy. Like,
Yeah.
Not anymore. He quit.
well, he was.
Yeah.
He's
Anyway.
played here lots of times.
I'll have a conversation with him after the meeting if you don't mind, Chris.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't go to bed till midnight typically anyways.
It's 2 hours before I go to bed, but we're okay with that. So we're gonna say part-time / full-time, right? Is that how you want to read?
We'll just see what we get.
And we'll see what we get. And I think we should notify the 3 people that put in an application and let them know that we're putting that in again because we're considering part-time as well. And we're you know what I'm saying? We're rewording it
Yeah.
to say part-time / full-time, and that's just in case we don't get any bites for a full-time. I mean, for a part-time.
And up to 60,000 in salary plus benefits.
And I don't want to throw that in there for
Up
someone.
to covers you on lots of
Well,
things.
I understand that, but we'd get no part-time bites at that.
You already talked about a guy that doesn't want a full-time person because they don't want to pay him.
It's not that we don't want to pay them, Dolly. What I said was, I don't mind paying them. I just want to know where the money's coming from to pay them. And I don't know about you, but I'm not in favor of raising everybody's taxes just to cover our oversight.
So let's run the ad for 2 more weeks and maybe look into see what it costs for those online.
I'll tell you right now, we'll be very fortunate if we get it in Thursday's paper.
I really like the
Deadline's normally
Facebook
1 o'clock
idea.
on Monday.
Well, and Stephanie put it on
That's-
Facebook, but just the Eskridge page and then shared it on
Yeah.
the, I don't know about like an ad, a sponsored ad. Is that what you're talking
You
about?
can go
Chris?
like a targeted, like 10-mile radius of,
Within the zip code.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, if you could do like a 66423 and then everything that touches it, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
We're
Yeah,
not,
'cause the
we
lake's out.
we really can't table this
Down the zip
before
code.
April 10th because today's the 27th and the paper comes out this Thursday, which is the 30th. The first ad that we could possibly put out would be on the 6th of April, which makes the second ad on the 13th. If Lisa can get that ad in tomorrow morning with the paper, then we can do the April 10th. I've
I
got
don't-
something, I've got something going in the paper and I got it in like at 1:25 this afternoon and she said, yeah, she'd put it in for me.
I don't think that she will put it in
Doesn't say the
tomorrow.
deadline's.
I think we're
what, 10
past the
o'clock on
deadline.
We
Monday,
are.
I think we,
isn't it?
the
And
deadline's 1 o'clock.
She's really strict about it, and you have to be. I mean, she has to be strict.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
But that doesn't mean that we, well,
but we'll see what
Bottom
we
line
get.
is, we're not gonna
Maybe
talk
try,
about it
but-
on the 10th because they're
No,
won't be
but-
run long enough.
but if we do get the ad run on the 6th of April and again on the 13th, the next city council meeting after that will be the 24th of April. That doesn't mean we can't have a special work session to go over the applications regardless of the number we get, whether they're the 3 that we currently have or any additional ones, and have a work session set up for maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, which would be the 18th or 19th of April.
You could even call it a special meeting and actually take action.
Exactly, yeah. You just, a special meeting, we can review the applications, interview them, and make a decision that particular night that we can't make a decision. We'll have to,
If it's a meeting, we can.
If you call it as a special meeting, you can
okay,
take
all
action.
right,
A
okay.
work session, no, but if you call a special meeting for a specific,
And okay, then we can do that.
Then
We
you
could do
can.
that before the 24th. And that's a thought. You guys let me know if you're interested in doing that, then we'll set it up that way. Otherwise, we wait until the 24th of April to decide. Which means we got to review, we're all going to have to find a way to review those applications before the 24th because we're not going to have time to do it in a regular meeting.
Just FYI, since we're talking about the 24th, that will be gone that week. So
So what are your thoughts on what I'm talking about? What's your
I
thoughts,
think we
Michelle?
do is, I'd go with the special meeting.
I like that idea.
Okay,
I mean, that way you can't
Brett?
get sidetracked by
Brett,
anything.
your thought?
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody's opinion.
I
Let's
won't
hear
be
it.
here that time either, but
No, the 24th you won't be here, but you'll be here prior to that, right?
prior
If
to
a
that, maybe
special
not.
meeting-
If we have a
or
special
call.
meeting like the
No,
18th or 19th,
probably
you're gonna
not.
be gone those 2
Yeah.
weeks? Okay. And what about you, the 18th or 19th?
yeah, I'm there that week.
But Brett, you're gonna be, you can tell me later. We don't
I
have
could
to
be
say.
gone, yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we'll still make an attempt to get it in tomorrow. If she says no, we fully understand, okay?
Yeah.
And if you can't get it in, that's fine. Run it 2 weeks from the next available 2 weeks,
Okay.
okay?
And you can just always say position open until
Well, if it goes the
Position
13th,
until filled. Position remains open until filled or something like that.
That's
None
the
of us
standard
know.
language.
I think the deadline would have to be like the 17th of April, which is 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 1, 2, 3, 4 days after the last issue runs.
Or you can put position remains open until filled.
Yeah, but what happens if we don't fill it until May? You know,
You're looking for 2 people.
and 2 people and a mayor. Be right back. All right, so we're good with the city clerk position and what we're gonna do with that, right?
Yes.
Right along.
Okay,
Mhm.
now you ready for the next hour and a half?
So you
Okay.
think you could have a special meeting for that too?
Very well possible. Okay, next up on the agenda is the employee handbook.
I like it.
Too many variables. So.
Do you like all the highlighted from everybody?
It's pretty. It's colorful.
You want me to go make copies, or we're gonna? Are you really gonna discuss this tonight?
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
I know.
We had control of this earlier, and we let it get out of control. So this has been weeks happening.
Mhm. It's been put off a couple of times. At least a couple.
I will have
A couple
something behind it.
I don't. I have a copy of the old one with my personal highlights that I put in there, but I don't
My
have what
sister
everybody
was
else put
mayor
together.
of Lecompton. Her meetings never lasted over an hour.
So while she's making that
Brittany,
uh,
have yours?
I have, yeah. I do.
While she's making that comment, I want to go ahead and do my mayor concerns, get them out of the way. Is that okay with you guys?
Sure.
April 5th, I'm going to have a community discussion on childcare. That will come out in the paper tomorrow. April 5th is a Wednesday. I'm going to have 2 meetings. They will start, the first one will start at 2:00 and will last roughly an hour. The second one will start at 7:00 and last roughly an hour. It's a community discussion on childcare. Okay, just so you know, because you didn't hear the beginning of that.
Sorry.
The other thing I want to do is I want to point out that delinquent accounts. You guys know that's been one of my pet peeves since September. And does everybody remember how far in debt people were to the city back in September?
Not back then, but I think the latest call was 12 or 13K.
It was back in September. People owed us $80,000. You guys remember that?
Mhm.
That figure? Okay. Now
That was January and the year before. Go ahead.
that was as of September of 2022. So it included all of 22 up to that point. And now we're in debt. People are in debt to the city of $13,250. So a heck of an improvement getting that taken care of. And I expect that number to get better as the months go on. Money that we need to operate the city.
That's crazy. We didn't have the budget issues last year because of that.
It's been like that for several years. That was one of the first things I told Terry when he was mayor. Was look at how much we're owed.
Yeah.
Then Stephanie pulled the wrong report originally that didn't show the amount that it was, and then when he got the actual report,
I was a little bit furious, just a little bit.
Okay.
You can imagine. And I believe Lisa now has basically agreements for those that are delinquent on ways to get us paid back without breaking their pocketbooks. You know, am I correct on that?
I'm sorry, what?
You have forms that people have to sign that are delinquent that are making payments. Now they have to sign it, so it's not a
I didn't
verbal
make
thing.
one for Justin. Did you want one,
No.
Justin?
No, that's fine.
Because I thought you'd have yours online.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that Tim needs that back.
So you got that? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm tired. I'm sorry.
That was the one that was.
We all are.
You were the,
You sent that out, but then
yeah.
so
And
it'd
then
be
I
the one you
didn't get-
sent and then just look at my own sheet.
You know, I did get your second
No.
email incorporated in this, and I emailed it to people. But
Oh, you did? Okay. Well,
Did you print off that last email?
No, I didn't print it off.
Now, does yours have Annie's and?
No.
Oh, okay. Cause I emailed that too, so I'll go make another copy. And I'll get.
I would really like to kick the can to the next meeting on this. If I know we've kicked the can on this before, but I don't see it as a pressing issue that's going to
I agree.
cause a budget shortfall or anything. I'd just like to.
No, it's not. And I'd like to,
Table
you know,
this.
if we're going to do that, I'd like for everybody to look it over.
Yep.
And have a good understanding of what people are proposing so that when it comes time to this, in 2 weeks, we're not spending an hour and a half going over
Reading
it.
it.
Yeah,
Reading it and going over it. So simple request.
that's fair.
I think it would be fair for Annie to be here as part of this discussion, and hopefully everybody else can be here as well too. And I'm not seeing some of the things that I thought Justin had proposed. What color are you, Justin? You're gray.
Yeah.
I thought there was more things other than.
So I had
what's on
two
page
emails,
7.
like, because it was one of those ones where, well, we met here with those folks on a Wednesday, right? The gentleman that sat in Tim's chair.
Yes,
Yeah.
Wednesday, yeah.
That's right, gentlemen. But I said I would try to get it to her the next day. I wasn't able to get it the next day, but So she sent that out on Friday, and then I finished on Friday, and then I sent, or she sent a document out on Friday, but it said Terry on it, so I didn't know if it was just your changes or what. But yeah, anyway, neither here nor there. But I got my stuff in late. Apologize.
Well, I didn't send in anything because I asked for blue, and blue's given to somebody else. So
Yeah, you can't have
So
that.
you were just gonna say, I'm not gonna do it because
I'm
they
not
didn't
gonna
give
play.
you the color. I
That's right.
want.
I'm always
give me my toys. I'm leaving the sandbox.
Well, I hate to have her make all those copies
Yeah.
that she's making.
The only suggestion that I thought of, and it's just a suggestion, not something I feel super strongly about, but with the overtime, I believe that you should not get paid overtime unless you've worked 40 hours. So if
Yeah.
somebody works the weekend at the water plant, and then there's a holiday involved, then they're not working 40 hours. So I think we need to do something to make sure
Yeah, I read.
either they get that overtime pay for those 3.5 hours, or we just have them take off 3.5 hours the following Monday.
I apologize.
Oh,
I didn't get
we're
that.
talking about my edition.
Yeah, that's what I actually came to that conclusion. And then I started reading it and thought, oh, somebody else put this idea in there also. I think it might be
It'll
people
save
might
us
like working the
about
weekend.
$11,000.
People might like working the weekend if they know that come Monday they get to take off at noon.
But
if
if they
there's an
get to leave
emergency-
at noon on Friday.
No, that's the last day of the pay period. What if there's an emergency?
Okay, so,
So
then
that's why we
explain
let
how
them-
it'll work out.
You,
then.
you let them leave on Monday. If there's an emergency and they are needed, okay, then leave on Tuesday. Same story. If they have to be here, you've got 5 days to push it back. But if you just automatically push it to Friday, the last day of the pay period, you're shooting the dice. And what if it's somebody who says, man, I'd sure like to be able to leave on this day because my kid plays ball or whatever the case may be. Maybe they volunteer to do the weekend gig so that they can leave on whatever night their kid plays ball, so they can leave early and be cleared down at Chase County to watch a ball game. Or Harrington, or gosh, where's the other Vikings that we play?
Keep in mind,
Kansas
Riley.
City. Riley, Kansas. No, over by Kansas City. The other Blue Vikings.
Keep in mind, labor laws in the state of Kansas require somebody that gets credit for overtime be compensated at the overtime equivalent. So if somebody works 3 hours of overtime, they don't get 3 hours of comp time. They get 4.5.
Only if it's not used within the same week.
Well, from what I read, it wasn't. From what I read, and I could be wrong. I read a lot of stuff, but if I'm wrong, that's something we need to double check.
Maybe I
don't have a problem.
didn't hear
I
the
don't
whole
have a problem
question,
if you're
and
correct.
my
That
mind's
doesn't.
not maybe functioning.
Well, the idea that I was toying with was making it so that it's not overtime, it's merely hours that would be, as you said, comp time, I guess.
Yeah, but one of us is right, or maybe we're both right. I don't know, but I don't recall for sure. Like I said, I've read an awful lot of stuff in the last several months. Gone to a lot of meetings in the last several months. A lot of discussions going on. So that's something we need to verify so that they're paid correctly. I don't want to be kicked with some kind of penalty 6 months down the road because we didn't properly pay somebody for overtime. Somebody even suggested we hire another person part-time to learn the 3 jobs of our skilled employees for backup when either they're on vacation or they're laid up and can't work. And then that person could actually work the plant on the weekends, and we don't pay overtime on the weekends. That thought's been tossed around at me too. And where do you cover the cost of that? And the money saved in overtime.
Be hard to find a qualified operator. You have such a small pool of candidates that are allowed to function in that.
You guys in the past have had employees working out the plant that weren't qualified for years.
Yeah, they do have to work under somebody's
direction.
You know,
Yes, yeah, and then they have to pass the test to do various
So-
things. I understand all that.
If Justin has the license and I'm the weekender,
and Justin doesn't have full confidence in me, I bet he has the right to say, I'm not letting him work under my license.
Well, you shouldn't be working under your license. You shouldn't be working under your license.
But that situation was, it was a former employee that no longer worked for the city that we were still working under his license, and we paid him something per whatever.
Yeah, we sure did.
So we want to advertise that we did that?
I'm just being
Just
upfront
did.
that that's what we did.
I know.
Statute of limitations, what is that?
I don't know.
I'm sure it's legal that we
Right.
did it, or Todd wouldn't allowed us to do it.
He did say it was legal, you know, as long as we had some kind of agreement with him, I believe.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna table the handbook until the April 10th meeting, correct?
And what was the understanding on that, the agreement, if we table it?
When we read it.
That we need to be familiar with what the proposals are, so when we come down here, we can look at it and say, I like this, or I don't like this, and discuss that change or whatever, and get that in there where it
Well,
needs
and
to
I'll
be.
get Justin's last edits
What's what?
incorporated
On the
into it,
hours?
so it's, you're not having to look at his email.
Okay.
to
I don't
see
like
where
it for the
fits
fact
in.
that it would,
I apologize. I
they
just-
might be looking forward to that week.
Okay, so as a-
And now we've just taken.
And as a quick reminder, April 5th, I'm having a community discussion on childcare at the Senior Citizen Center at 2:00 in the afternoon. For those that can make it, community and surrounding areas invited. And I'm having the same discussion at 7 p.m. the same night for those that can't make it at 2 in the afternoon. Okay? All right.
Regarding childcare, is that what you
It's
said?
regarding childcare, yeah.
Who's opening a daycare?
It's a possibility. Might find somebody in that crowd that wants to do that.
Throw the kids back
What
in
day
the
was
chicken
that,
pen.
Terry?
Oh, no.
April
Fifth.
5th, Wednesday, April 5th.
I'm too freaking old.
And a minimum of once a month, I'm gonna have some kind of community discussion on something, on some subject.
I moved to adjourn.
I have quickly. So I just wanted to say that the Easter egg hunt that the city is helping put on will be the 8th in the park at, was it 10 or 10:30, Lisa?
You know, I printed the flyers off for Annie, but I didn't.
I believe that it's 10:30.
It's on
The
Facebook.
rain date is the 9th, which is the next day.
Last year was at 10 o'clock, so we need to verify that.
It's
and
on
we-
Facebook.
We moved
Okay.
it up, I think.
It says 10 o'clock. is what I
Does
got.
it? Okay, maybe we didn't.
April 8th at 10 o'clock.
The other thing is the city cleanup with the dumpster.
Mhm.
That it's the time for that. So I just wanted to solidify that we were going to do that again, so
And
that
what
we can
day?
set a date.
Do we have a date yet?
I was thinking the week before Memorial Day,
Okay,
or it could. I was just wanting to make sure that it was done and it gave people time to utilize the dumpster before the symphony came to town.
Do we do a week
Which
or
is
2
it?
weeks before that?
We were doing it a week, but then they said that we could keep it here. It wasn't going to cost us any more to keep it, to fill it up more.
So do
So we
we-
kept it 3 weeks last year.
So do we back that up and to make sure it's out of there by Memorial Day? I'm just
yeah, not a bad idea.
proposing it, but
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
We got a couple of people whose deadlines are in May for getting their properties cleaned up. This might be an opportunity for them.
so
to
the
get rid
first
some
week
their
of May
stuff.
works.
Yeah. I mean, I'm cool with doing it anytime. I'm just throwing that
The
out.
first
there.
week or the
If we're
first
going to leave
weekend?
it.
The first week or the first weekend?
It depends on when we would do it. Want to start it at the beginning of the week or on a weekend?
Okay, because the weekend of the 27th would be Memorial Day weekend.
I would think that if we had it dropped off on a Friday, more people would be able to utilize it quicker over a weekend than throughout the week. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
They can bring it out on the 5th of May then, and they can pick it up on the 20th. That'd be 3 weeks.
Okay.
Or the 26th, I'm sorry, told you wrong. Friday's the 5th. The following week would be, week 1 would be the 12th, week 2 the 19th, week 3 it would be the 26th. They can pick the dumpster up on the 26th. Just a thought.
I like it.
The last thing I wanted was, did Colby email about a date? Lisa, have they emailed you? Because Stephanie was supposed. Stephanie did email them, but I don't know if.
Haven't.
All right, do you have access to like her old? Okay, I just want to make sure that they didn't give a date.
Nope, I haven't.
The other one was for Tim. Did you happen to talk to them about the bait shop or hear of a date? Because it's been the 1st of April, so I didn't know if it was not the exact first, but the first week or so of April.
Last time I talked to JD, he said we're still waiting on materials to come in. We're hoping by the first week of April.
Okay.
And that was maybe a week and a half ago.
Did he say anything about the mud jacking or repair of the bait shop?
Well, I asked him to go and look at that, and he said, well, I need to be at the cabin because he has a cabin out there. Said, I need to be there this weekend. I'll go over there and look at it. And I have not heard back from him since. I've talked to Mike about it. Mike had some ideas. I asked Mike if he wanted to meet JD out there. I don't know if Mike did or where that went, but Mike has a concern about just plugging all that up with mud because we've got a drain that we need to be concerned with.
From the shower.
That Mike doesn't know much about. But we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Can't you run that drain over to the sewer, line from the bait shop?
I made a motion.
I'll second Tim's motion
Okay,
to adjourn.
motion adjourned by Tim, seconded by Brett. All in favor?
10:52.
We're adjourned 10:52. Probably to answer your question, I believe we looked at that drain. It's a possibility of diverting it away from the lake area.
Think of it. Yeah, I can tell you what they think of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's almost an impossible
or
task.
is it more of like, is
It's
it more
almost
like
like
a
a
pump?
still
Like
drain to get
like
rid of
you just, that was kind of being talked about.
Don't run off.
No. Yeah. So I mean, you know, if you offer them comp time and you let them leave early, maybe they like that. I don't know. But,
Yeah.
so I guess I didn't hear the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't thinking of comp time. I thought of it. That was just what was talked about here, which I like.
Yeah, and they work out.
Dolly,
It's kind of a.
I didn't want to
benefit
address your answer right in front of the microphone. The last one you asked about the drain.
You better wait, Tim.
You better wait.
Hasn't ran out of tape yet.
I didn't know that had a mic.
Yeah.